Hey, welcome on. Good evening, wherever you're listening from. Welcome to another Money Space with me. My name is Kalu Ajer, and here every week we're talking money, the economy, and of course personal finance. We want to talk about economic topics and how do they make sense to your wallet. That's what we do here every weekend, making it live for you. So this week we're talking about, of course, investing. We're talking around investing in an environment of unstable, or should we say uncertain volatility as regards the exchange rate. That's what we want to talk about, right? We're going to get straight into it. Not much background we can give apart from this. Of course, if you're Nigerian, we use a naira, but we also have other currencies and other means that we transact in. The naira is the official currency. That means that's a currency that we settle transactions with. It's a legal tender, meaning you can pay debts with it. But for a very, very long while, not this year, not last year, for a very, very long while, the naira has been losing value, right? So we've gone from a point where the naira is just expensive, i.e. in the 1970s, it was very expensive. Now it's very, very cheap when compared to the dollar. And we are now in a position where 1 naira exchanges for give or take 1,500, 1,400. Last week it was about 1,300. It will drop to 1,111, 190 last week. It got very, very strong. If you look at just the recent trends, it's about 1,350 give or take, about. Now that's the exchange rate. So the question then arises: what should you do if you're a Nigerian and you'd want to invest? How do you navigate this uncertainty? And of course, we're going to have questions. So really, I want you guys to ask questions. That's really going to be the main focus of the space today. Ask your questions and then we'll try to give answers to it. But let me just say this. First of all, holding currency is not an investment. If you simply hold your naira in your hand, you're not investing at all, right? So you've got to get that naira into a place, or that dollar or that naira into a place where it can earn a yield for you. That's interest yield. So if you're holding naira, it's got to be in a bank or an investment in stocks where it can earn a yield for you. Same thing with the dollar. It's got to be an investment where it can earn a yield for you. So the difference is now, if you want to hold the naira or the dollar currency, what's the opportunity cost? If you hold naira, your opportunity cost is the dollar. If you hold dollar, your opportunity cost is the naira. So the point I'm making is this: if you hold a dollar bill in your hand, what you are losing is the interest that you would have gotten if you invested that naira instead the safest investment in Nigeria, which is going to be the federal government bond. If you buy a federal government bond, say a savings bond, round, average you pay about 12% per annum. 12% per annum. So if you hold a dollar, you are losing 12% per annum in naira. If you hold the naira, you are losing. If you buy the safest investment in the U.S. economy right now, it's going to be maybe a CD that is insured by the Federal Reserve or a 10-year U.S. government bond. It's going to give you average 4.5% APY. So if you hold naira, you are losing that 4.5% APY in dollar terms. But that's the starting point. The real problem is this: when you hold the naira at 12% earnings, you are going to lose 31% via inflation. So if you hold naira, you earn 12% risk-free, issuer risk-free, but you lose 31% via inflation. But if you hold the dollar, you get 4.5% or 5% issuer risk-free, and you only lose about, I would say, 3%. Let's say US inflation is 2.5%. So that's what the problem is, that the naira pays you more in terms of returns, but you lose everything via inflation. The dollar pays you less, i.e. APR returns, but you get a real rate of return with the dollar, and that's the problem. So having established that baseline, let's now go to the next question. How should an American or how should a Nigerian that's earning invest in Nigeria if there's uncertainty? Now, whatever place you are, there are going to be 3 points in your investment journey: when you enter, when you're in, and when you're leaving. So when you enter, when you're in, and when you're leaving. Let's break it down for if you're a Nigerian. If you're a Nigerian earning naira and you're investing in naira, So your entry point is Naira. Then you have no problem. You earn Naira, you invest in Naira. Your only problem is making a real rate of return. So because you're going to earn risk-free 12%, but inflation minus 31%. So 31 minus 12 is going to be your return. It's not a real rate of return. It's the difference between 12, which you earn, and 31, which you lose. That's Naira. So you enter at that. When you stay in, you are being hammered by inflation. When you get out, you also have no issues. You are getting out Naira to Naira. Your only problem is that you're going to get out not at a real rate of return. You might get out with your 12% return, but inflation has really taxed you 31%. So for Naira to Naira, no problem. The issue comes when you're doing dollar to Naira. So if I take my $1,000 and I convert that to Naira, so that's going to be about how much? If we say, even if we say just make it round figure, so it's easier for us, 1,200. If you convert that figure from dollar to Naira, so you've gotten some exchange gain when it's in Naira. But the instant it comes to your hand in Naira, the 31% inflation applies to it. The instant you get it in Naira. So now you are in Naira at 31%. If you buy that same bond in Nigeria at 31% and you make your 12%, you've made 12%, which is higher than 5%. If you try to convert that 12% you've made back to dollar, you've lost money. You've lost because now the exchange rate risk now applies to you in addition to the interest rate and inflation risk. So you have more risks if you do dollar Naira to invest. Yes, you can buy a forward and hedge, but right now the forward market is not as it should be. Let's just leave it that way. It's not as it should be. So the risk for you if you're doing dollar to Naira is that number one, inflation. Number two, the exchange rate risk. You can't convert from Naira back to dollar. You would lose money in those levels. So how is the best way for you to invest in this uncertainty? Yes, of course, if you're coming from dollar to Naira, because already you are buying from a high base, you are buying from a high cost for a high value base, which is the dollar. You are buying an asset that is underpriced, which is a Naira. When we say Naira, we mean Naira stocks or Naira property, Naira anything denominated. So if I take $1,000 and I convert it to Naira and I buy, say, Geregu, or I buy UBA shares, I am buying UBA shares from a higher base, a premium base, so I can buy more UBA shares because I'm coming from the dollar. As long as I do not want to convert that UBA shares back to dollars, I'm fine. If I put that Naira in Nigeria, I'm going to get the return that UBA pays me, the dividends, the capital growth in Naira. Remember, the year-to-date return for the Nigerian stock market is 39% year-to-date. Which means the index, all the stocks in Nigeria, the good ones, the bad ones, if you bought everything, you're going to get 39%, which is beating inflation of 31%. So as long as you are in Naira and staying in Naira in certain asset classes, you can beat inflation. As long as you do not convert your money back to dollars. That's the issue. That conversion is the problem. So which means that if you're a foreigner, if you have money that you are borrowing to invest in Nigeria, it might not be a good idea for you because you borrow at that interest rate to convert to Naira. This is not the time to then go from Naira back to dollars. But it's a time where if you have the means to have access to long-term capital, this is the best time because you're buying into the largest economy in Africa at a very, very low multiple. Very, very low cost. That's the whole idea. You can say Nigeria is bad, but if we agree with you that Nigeria is bad, then what's the next thing after bad? Good. I would be more worried if Nigeria was good, because the next after good is bad. But if Nigeria is bad, i.e. economically is distressed, it's got no power, it's got low exports, that's the opportunity that if it is fixed, then you're bought in at this discount. Look at it this way. If Nigeria gets power supply correct, the economy will not even double, it will triple. Even if you argue it will double, That means everything you are buying today with your naira, you are buying it at an undervalued price because you're coming in with the dollar to buy a naira asset. As long as you are prepared to have that long-term horizon, and as long as prepared to have the hope that the country will get better. So what's the bad part? What if the country does not get better and you invest these dollars into Nigeria and it gets worse, power supply gets worse, the banditry gets worse, then your money is lost because there's no way you're going to take that money back now at dollar. It's going to be more expensive. So it's a sunk cost. It's going to remain in naira really forever until a miracle happens. That's the risk that you're going to face, that you're taking good money, trying it to chase bad money, and now you can't even come out. Just like what the airlines are going through. The airlines invested in Nigeria when the things were bad. Now things seem to be very, very good, but they still can't get that dollars out. So that's the equation for you. Entry, exit, entry, stay, exit. If you are doing naira, you shouldn't be complaining, because naira, you can still make a real rate of return if you go to some sectors. Inflation would affect you if you have fixed income. It would affect you, but if you have variable income, it might not really catch up to you. Naira, you are fine. But dollar naira, as long as you are staying in Nigeria, you are fine. You can't do dollar naira and get your money out in 1 year or 6 months. Nope, you can't do that. You're going to lose some money there. So if you're doing dollar to naira to stay, fantastic. Dollar to naira to go, that's where I'm going to have a problem. Guys, let me stop talking here. I think I've talked for about 11 minutes. Let's go straight to guys that want to have a question or guys that want to have the DMs. This is your time to shine. So I've given the floor back. The mic is open to the main bodies. Let me go to my DMs real quick and read. Yes, I knew this question was going to come up. Kalu, what's going to happen to the dollar to naira exchange? I want you to answer me plainly. Is naira going to go up? Is naira going to fall? I want a simple answer. Give me an answer. So this question is going to come up in many ways in the space today, right? The naira that you see today, right, is a derivative. It's a derivative of crude oil. What I mean is this: if crude oil price goes up, the naira will gain value because that is foreign exchange flowing back into Nigeria. So when you see the naira, the crude oil, the price of crude oil going up, or the volume of crude oil going up, that is volume of dollars flowing into Nigeria, which means the Central Bank of Nigeria has more dollars to defend the currency. Right now, you see the naira getting value is because the central bank has dollars right now from foreign portfolio investments, from remittances, from loans, from foreign portfolio investments to defend the naira. That's why naira has gained strength from 1,500 to 1,300. The question is how long? Crude oil provides a more durable income flow than foreign portfolio investments. So when you see crude oil price going up, the naira is going to go up. If you see crude oil prices staying stagnant or not falling, the naira will fall. FPIs are short term. You can only defend for a limited period before it will go up. So the point is the dollar, the exports of crude oil should be your focus, not the exchange rate. Watch the exports of crude oil, and the reports are also published by the Nigerian regulators. If they start to go up, that is your signal that the naira is going to stay durable, staying, not just the short term, durable staying. Let me get City Boy. City Boy, how you doing? Go ahead. My vision. I don't know if I got it right. You got the floor, so go ahead. City Boy, you got the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. I'm kind of in a noisy place.
Okay, we'll take Alto. Alto, please go ahead. Alto, you got the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't join at the beginning of the space, but I'm guessing this is just a general space about investing and what's going on with the naira.
That's what we try to achieve. We try to achieve that general platform for talking about the economy, Nigeria, personal finance. Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I have about two questions. First of all, the obvious question is: should we buy dollar and keep, or do you think even in the short term, let's say 6 months, do you think this current the current exchange rate will hold. Then my second question is there a bottom to how bad it can go? Can it, because I've seen a lot of projection, is it really possible, even as bad as we know things are in the country, can it for some reason get to 5,000 naira to a dollar? What I'm basically, is there like a limit to how bad it can go, with what the country is right now?
Okay, yeah, two questions. So you're asking the first question, should you go buy dollars today? The answer is going to be, what's your objective? If you have followed this space, I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, and we do this space, I think, for 3 years now. If you follow this space, we've always said, number one, 2020, I think I tweeted 2020, that's 4 years ago. I said, keep your dollars close. Why? Because the exports were falling and the naira was being debased by printing. Keep your dollars close means you have to diversify away from dollars, from naira. If you follow me again, I've made this statement. I've said, if you are not spending that naira in the next 90 days, don't keep it in naira. Which means you have to keep it in the bank. Don't keep it in cash. I mean, you can keep that money in the bank and at least earn something on that currency. Even though there's inflation, if you put the money in the bank, at least you're earning something. Or you diversify your currency. 2023, we give our list of what to do, because every year we give out a list of what to do. 2023, we said diversify away from one currency, diversify away from one economy, one commodity, even geography. We said that. So in financial planning terms, you should not have just one currency, even if it's a dollar. Talk less of the naira. You can't simply have your entire budget, your entire savings in naira. It doesn't make any sense for you. It's very dangerous for you, because in the year, like I said, this year, once you hold a naira note in your hand, you've lost 31%. The instant you hold a naira note in your hand, 31%. Yesterday, I tweeted out the returns for the naira to dollar over a 10-year period. I don't know if you saw that. I did 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year. The returns that you are seeing now are just for 1 month. For 1 month, the naira has gained value. But go back 2 years, go back 5 years, and all that. What has the naira done? And this is not to say we're just giving you facts and figures and numbers. So for 1 month, the naira has gained 13%. 13%. But for 1 year, it's lost 197%. 1 year, 197%. 5 years, 277%. 10 years, 728%. That's what it's lost. So your first question is, should you buy naira? You should buy dollars to diversify, because the naira is being inflated away. It doesn't matter the interest rate. I hear people saying, if I buy at 1,000 today and I sell at 500 tomorrow, but why are you worried about that? $1 is $1. If you buy $1, it's still $1. It's what you change it to that you are worried about. You are doing exchange rate conversion, but you are buying the dollar in your portfolio to hedge against inflation, to protect your naira portfolio from losing value from inflation. That's what you're buying it for. It's not the entire portfolio, but you have to have a portfolio that exposes you to the dollar so that you can get that stability. It becomes your shock absorber. It's like saying, because there's no more armed robbery, don't buy in home insurance. That's what you're saying. No, you've got to buy some insurance. You've got to have on your portfolio some dollars. And even in Nigeria, we allow you to open up dollar accounts. We allow you to open up dollar savings accounts. Nigeria as a country buys dollars and saves in dollars. Our foreign reserves are in dollars. So what's the point of you saying, I will not buy? It has nothing to do with patriotism. You've got to have a portfolio that is diversified, that protects you from inflation. That's your first question and your first answer there. To the second question, when you say, how bad can it get? It can get very, very bad very, very quickly if oil supplies, if we don't export crude oil. 2005, Nigeria was exporting 2.2 million barrels a day. Today, Nigeria is exporting 1.5, 1.7 million barrels a day. That's why things are bad today, because of the exports of crude oil. Remember, you don't hear me talking about exports of cocoa or any other non-oil exports, because oil and gas exports are 89% of Nigeria's exports. 89%. So if you have a shop paying you 89%, you focus on that shop and you say, I want this shop. If this shop can even do a 10% increase in sales, I've made my target. 89% of our foreign revenues come from crude oil and gas. 89. So that's your answer right there, Alto. Did I at least try to give you some color to that? Alto.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick. Why I asked this second question is I've been living in fear for the past year about Nigeria falling into this situation like Zimbabwe, where one day we'll be using Ghana must go full of money to buy bread or something like that. So
you know it has happened before. You know it happened before in Nigeria. I don't know how old you are, but the older guys on this space will tell you that I grew up in Nigeria where my parents were lining up to buy sugar, milk. We call it essential commodities. The older guys on this space will tell you. There was a time in Nigeria where you go to the store, you will line up to buy sugar, milk. It was called essential commodities. We'll go to school, my mom will pick us from school, then would go to the store and she will line up with a voucher, and that voucher allowed you to buy a packet of St. Louis sugar. It's happened in Nigeria before. It's happened here before. So, and every economy can crumble very, very quickly. Look at Lebanon. Lebanese guys are here in Nigeria. We know how wealthy, in quote, they are. But look at their economy today. So any economy can turn on its head very quickly if you take very, very bad decisions. And it goes faster down and it goes slower up. So don't think this not it can happen, but I think Nigeria is a bit more, our economy is a bit bigger, wider today than what we were in 1983 when it happened. Now, back then, we were always doing crude oil. Right now, I think we have lots of remittances that we didn't have back then that would maybe shore up the economy. But that's what I'll say. We won't get to Zimbabwe, but things can get bad very quickly. That's what we'll say. Chris Chukwu, you've got the floor, sir. Olumide, welcome. Chris Chukwu, go ahead. Chris Chukwu is taking his time. Let's get Shuaibu Benjamin. Mr. Shuaibu Benjamin, how are you doing, sir? Shuaibu, go ahead. I think your audio is bad. Olumide, I had a question for you since I have you here. Olumide, the banks, Nigerian banks have been told to recapitalize. Someone is asking me here if you should buy your favorite bank, Fidelity. What should I answer him? I've got a question from NS. NS is asking me, should I buy Fidelity Bank? Because can I buy banking stocks at this time? What's your answer, Olumide?
Okay, so first of all, since Nneka came on board, there was hardly any year, because I've been tracking that bank and I'm an investor in that bank, so most banks especially. And I could tell you for free that she has outperformed most of our peers. And, she started with her exposure with utility companies and, the quiet woman known for a very systemic role in taking capital projects, despite the fact that many Nigerian banks don't really look forward to investing in infrastructural projects. I think it helps. And she has been able to grow the bank. And she became so ambitious at some point that a lot of people argue that it's a tier 1 bank. Well, it looks on paper as a tier 1 bank because they've already had international exposure with the acquisition of the Union Bank operation in London. But when you look at it with the new rules come with the Apex Bank, it seems that they either downgrade back to the national bank license for safety reasons because they have to raise over 300 billion. And when you're looking at the fact that all the banks will raise over 3 trillion naira, and you're looking at big disposable income in our market, and looking at tight offshore financing, it's quite difficult. But you can't bet against artisans based on market histogram. But Carl, I just wanted to add one thing. You were saying on the Naira FX thing. I think the bank recapitalization to factor in on the exchange rate somehow, because a lot of things economists are not looking at. If you look at what happened this year, for example, one of the things Cardoso did that a lot of people are not aware is that he ensured the presidency handle that NNPC issue. So they have access to FX inflows, which Emefiele did not have. Secondly, is more focused on our money markets right now as the source of attraction, and that has worked. He has increased raised by 600 basis points. The two interest rates meeting, he has blurred the advantage Egypt has first half when they increased interest rate by 600 basis points. So I think, yes, why you could argue that it's short time that he has shown that demand in the black market is artificial. I have never seen it in Nigerian FX market where the Naira will gain 45% in 4 weeks. From 5 weeks, because if you look at February low of February 20 to as we speak, the Naira is really so it has really helped investors in our market. Dangote, Geregu, Transcorp, they all have double figure returns. If you have invested in Meta, Facebook, even Nvidia, it's not done better than Nigerian investors this quarter because the Naira has stabilized. Because if you look at where it started this year and look at where it's trading now, it has come back to its norm. But on the longer run, like we argue, which is right, you can't really bet against the dollar. The Naira has underperformed against the dollar from the days of the Naira took shape. So I just wanted to add those perceptions.
Just to follow up on your point about Fidelity Bank and all the banks in Nigeria trying to raise capital. If I inflow 100,000 Naira to Nigeria, that's 150 million. Is that correct? That's 150 million.
As in, based on
even if the rate is 1-2, even if we say it's 1-1, even if it's 1,000, if I inflow 100,000 Naira, that's 100 million.
Are you in $100,000? Yes.
Yeah. So I understand now. This is a chance for. I know many people in America that have $500,000. They are earning 1% on it, doing nothing with it. So if those Nigerians inflow $500,000 into a Nigerian bank, that's almost, they've made that capital. This capital is not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money. That's why I'm going to with that capital base that they're asking to bring up. That's number one.
The problem right now is that there are too many good things in the Nigerian market that is really becoming very attractive. So if you look at our money market, for example, a lot of portfolio investors were coming in when the Naira was about 1819. So just even looking at the strength of the Naira alone, and the gains are already in double figures. Now, another thing again is that the CBN chief is choking the necks of banks because look at the CR rate. It means that banks make money from loans, and it means that they would have to give less. And FX valuation gains that really took significant amounts will definitely moderate because the market is becoming stable. So how do you convince investors that your country CR is one of the highest in the world, and the fact that the government is also looking at tightening the economy? So for the banks, it's mixed, and that's why you look at a bank like Access that's about raising over $1.5 billion. They are looking at the debt and they are looking at the equity. So Cardoso also made it worse that he excluded retained earnings, and that complicated things because Access, for example, had over 2 trillion in shareholder equity fund. So I think the strategy for what the ABS Bank is doing is not just bringing FPIs. He wants smaller number of banks. He wants systemic banks. And he wants banks that can challenge the likes of South Africa and Egyptian Bank, just like the way we dominated West African banks during after the reforms of Soludo.
Yeah, I hear you. I completely hear you. I'm just making the point that the money looks like a lot of money in Naira, but if you convert that Naira requirement to dollar terms, right, 2 or 3 investors can come together and actually buy this. Some Indian banks are going to come to Nigeria. That's what's going to happen. It's Chinese banks, Indian banks, even some small American banks can even buy into Nigeria. Look at the growth of Nigerian banks compared to growth of American banks. The growth of a Nigerian banking sector here in Nigeria is way, what Access Bank can do in Nigeria is more than what JP Morgan can do in America, if you understand what I mean. Access has lots of opportunities to grow banking in Nigeria. Only 44% of Nigerian banking population have a bank account. Less than 5% of Nigerian banking population have gotten a loan from a Nigerian bank. Less than 5% have gotten a loan. I'm quoting figures from EFINA, Enhancing Financial Inclusion. So if I'm an American bank, small American bank, not JP Morgan, small tiny American bank, I would look at an access as a way. I mean, access UBA GT Bank. This is my access to tap into the largest economy in Africa. Even if I drop $5 million, that's the rounding error. $5 million. I bought how much percent? $5 million.
Yeah, but sorry, Carlo. But if you look at the fact that you're talking about the aloneness around the Nigerian bank industry, I completely agree with you. But I think Cardoso is after that, because look at last year, for example.
Oh, you said that's what he's looking for, right? You say he's looking for the FDI.
Because if you look at the NGX performance last year, Nigerian banks did better. Nigerian banks banking in there had over nearly 70%.
Exactly.
In terms of, and it's different. So if you look at our industry, Nigerian banking industry is more lucrative than any sector. Whether you want to talk about energy, in terms of capital retention, you talk about dividends, you want cash cow investment. So Nigerian banks. So I think what Cardoso is trying to do is that, he wants banks to play what banks are. He wants banks not to do like tech stocks. He wants banks to be more systemic in the economic responsibility at the same time, and make sure the economy grows. Because, like what you said, if you look at the books and if you look at where the banks are coming from, yes, you're right. But if you look at where Cardoso is trying to, because why would Cardoso increase interest rates by for 5%? But how would you bring so much rules in tightening?
I think he wants to tackle inflation first of all before he goes into I think he wants to kill inflation first, then he will come back into growth. I think that's what he's trying to do with that 45% CRM. Which means that he says if you put 100 naira in a bank, you can only lend out 55 naira for every 100 naira you have in the bank. Maybe that would go. But I want you to stay on cue, so we just rotate the room around a bit. I think there's a lot to talk about the dollar, the inflow, and I think this Cardoso's move is more of an FDI move than a banking recapitalization. But I think it's more of he wants to target he wants the banks to go and bring in big boys into the Nigerian economy through FDI. Because if you bring in $5 million, you are nearly there. Zero equilibrium economics. How are you doing, sir? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Carlo. Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you clearly, sir. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So here's some fine points on what you said so far. On the naira, it's numbers, not emotions, like you always say. And funny enough, I agree with you on some point. Like in terms of, I'm keeping my own dollars close. I didn't really get rid of everything. Why? Because the fundamentals hasn't really seen a remarkable change, in my opinion. What has happened is the government has gotten, FPIs, they've managed to clear the backlog. But then there are also two things to look at. You should consider those factors. Number one, the FPIs need to be paid back with interest. And we all know what the interest rates are. These are basically headwinds for the naira I'm pointing out. And number two, the backlogs has been cleared. The airlines are still struggling to get their capital out at the rate they want it to. Well, they're holding on, in my opinion, because they think they have leverage. Once that leverage doesn't seem strong enough, they would want to repatriate some capital or cut their losses. This, it happens, treasurers do this all the time. So when that happens, you're talking of billions or almost trillions of naira, being flooding the market again. So, in my opinion, for anyone who's really like exposed to, say, the USD or Naira assets, I would say two things. If you're exposed, if you're long the dollar and you're scared of what's going to happen, my advice to you would be hedge with treasury bills, so that it's because it's short term and the rates are okay. If you are long treasury or say Nigerian equities and you're still scared about what will happen to the value of your investment if the naira loses value, you hedge with USD. That is my own.
So you are saying
banking, you're right, Carlo. I'm done. It's not a lot of money, and it also. I think you're spot on when you said Cardoso is has FDI in his sights when he's looking to tell banks to recapitalize, because if foreign capital comes into banking equity, well, that's money that's going to sit for a while, unlike the hot money we've been getting for FPIs, and I think that's necessary. But then again, there's also the risk of the banking sector being fragmented and not exposed enough to the real economy. So, and the risks that are there if they begin to take certain credit risk exposures. So all this, basically, just my own submission. The naira, well, it's still dicey. We're not there yet. I hope we are. I pray we could maintain this level or even go stronger. But I'm not convinced.
Okay, I wanted to go back to your comment about the hedging. Can you repeat what you said? If you are long the dollars, which means if I am buying dollar, please can you just go over that again? Just
like basically, what I said was if you're long USD already, say you have some dollar savings or cash or whatever, and you are basically not sure what to do, whether to sell it or out. My advice would be, if you're liquid enough, you could hedge with treasuries so that you could, like, say, make up some of that losses with the rates. We all know what the yields are currently. Yeah. So and vice versa, if you already see long treasuries or you have some Nigerian equity in your portfolio, you're not willing to let go, but you're also worried about the value of the naira, then the advice will also be get some open USD positions, like basically acquire some USD and keep it. It's not about being patriotic. It's about thinking for yourself. And like you said, if burglary rates reduce, it doesn't negate the need to pay for fire and burglary insurance. So yeah, what
I'm hearing you say is that have a balanced portfolio. You are saying if you are already long, if you already have dollars in your possession, you are saying sell some dollars and buy Nigerian treasury bills that are paying 21% 1 year. Nigerian treasury bills right now about 21%. That's what I hear you say. Then you are saying if you are in Nigerian treasury bills and you've bought long term or equities you've bought long term, you are saying also diversify into a dollar holding. So balance out that portfolio. That's what I hear you saying.
Thank you very much. Yes,
all right, exactly great. It's always a good idea to balance out. Yeah, always a good idea. Thanks, my brother. Hang in there. Shuaibu, yeah. Are you back now? Can you speak to me, Shuaibu? Shuaibu just dropped off. Chooks, Chris Chuku, can you speak now, sir? Or I go to Idris. Chris Chuku, going once. Idris Umar. Let me check my DM. Mr. Idris Umar, how are you doing, sir? Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Kalu.
How are you doing?
Good evening to your audience. Mine is a question, sir.
Yeah.
Regarding the equity market at the moment. So I want you to shed a light on the viability or the reason. Is it worthwhile to buy Nigerian equities at this moment, considering the instability of naira, and also the current appreciation of naira? Because I recently developed interest in your Twitter interactions, so I don't know. Do you think it is sustainable, the current appreciation of naira?
So
thank you very much.
Two great questions. Number one, you're asking, should I buy shares in Nigeria? Number one. Number two, you're asking, what happens to naira tomorrow? Sir. Okay. So when you want to buy shares, first thing you must understand is that equities are risky, which means if you buy them today, the price can fall tomorrow. They are very, very volatile. So you want to buy according to your objectives. So if you came to my office, imagine if you came to my office and you said, I want to buy a car, and I just give you a trailer, or I give you a sports car. The question I will ask you is, what do you want to do with the car you want to buy? If you say, I want to carry cement to Kano, I'll give you a 911. If you say, I want to go on a date with my wife, I'll give you a sports car. So the same question, if you are buying equities, what do you want? Why are you investing? If you tell me I want to invest for 10 years, I don't want any liquidity, I don't want any income, I want to try to see if I can make more money, I want to double my money or to quarter my money or whatever my money, right? But I want to invest for minimum 10 years before I would require my principal. I will tell you, well, the asset class that over time has shown the capacity to beat inflation is Nigerian equities or equities in general. So I would have a bias towards equity. I would tell you invest in equities if you are doing it for the long term and you don't need your principal in the short term. That's how I want to answer that question, right? So again, the second question is this: when you buy equities, you are doing profit and loss. You are trying to buy into the profits of something and also share in the loss of something. So you want to ask yourself, that company I'm buying, is it a good company? Will it be around here in 10 years? Will it grow? Will it fall? So come to Nigeria. Do you think, first of all, Nigeria will be Nigeria in 10 years' time? If the answer is yes, okay, then we're buying. Okay, what sectors do you think in Nigeria in 10 years' time will be making money or would not make money? Would you think banks will still make money? What about oil companies? What about restaurants? Which small sectors today in 10 years will become very, very large sectors? What about education? What about real estate that have a very, very tiny contribution to our GDP today, but will blow up in 10 years as the population gets bigger? You find those kind of sectors or those kind of companies and you buy them. Look at Dangote Cement right now. Dangote Cement is an elastic product, which means that everybody wants cement. It's either you build a house with cement or you don't build a house. You can't say, I'll build a house with Coke bottle. You either build with cement or you don't build with cement. But Dangote Cement right now, the man himself, Dangote, the richest man in Africa, he's buying more shares of Dangote Cement. So let me say it again. Dangote Cement is doing what's called the share buyback. So Mr. Dangote is buying more shares of his own company, taking it away from you and I. So if the richest man in the world is buying more shares of his own company, should we look at him or should we follow him and buy shares? That's for you to answer. But you say, if you want to make money, say when in Rome or what you look at what rich people do, then you follow them. So when you are buying shares, you are taking a gamble that that company you are buying in 10 years, in 5 years, is going to be bigger than today. That's what you are doing. I personally buy Nigerian stocks because I think it is bad today, so the obvious is going to be good tomorrow. I'm taking a gamble that the Nigerian economy will do better in 10 years' time than today. That's what I personally am doing, if I can answer your question that way. As to your second question, I'm going to make Olumide also give his own thought about if you should buy stocks. On the second question with the Nigerian currency, keep it very, very simple. If Nigeria sells oil, the Naira will rise. If Nigeria gets dollar loans, the Naira will rise. If Nigeria gets dollar remittance, the Naira will rise. On these 3 points, Nigeria is getting 2 out of 3. So we're getting dollar loan, we're getting dollar remittance, but oil sales is not yet up. The oil sales is the main one. So it's like we have a car with 4 tires. Nigeria is right now running on 3 tires, and that 3rd tire is the biggest tire that we should run on, because the loans are not going to be forever. Next year, 2025, Nigeria is going to pay back 1 billion of euro bond that we borrowed, the principal 1 billion. So that 1 billion is going to take away even the 1.5 million we're seeing coming to the country, to take it away. So this has to continue. We can continue borrowing or we can continue pumping oil. Once those things are happening, the Naira will gain value. The Naira cannot retain its value for long term on borrowed money. That's what Lebanon did. You cannot borrow your way into a strong currency. That's what America is doing today. But America is lucky they are printing dollars. We can't print dollar. So it is, to answer your question, as long as there's exports and there's borrowing of dollar, the Naira will gain value. If those things stop, the Naira might lose value. The borrowing is not long term. We have to convert. What the CBN is doing is buying time for the federal government to get their act together. The CBN has borrowed money. How does CBN pay back? That when NNPC sells crude oil, the money flows back to CBN. Then CBN pays those debts. If anything happens and NNPC cannot export crude oil, then it's all over. I don't know if I answered your question right that way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very
and
much.
I want Olumide to also give you a bit. He's asking over, should he buy stocks? That's what he's asking you. Should he buy Nigerian shares?
So, for educational reasons, I will tell you that as a Nigerian, and if you look at data, economic data, it's pretty very difficult for you to make a living without investing because disposable income is weak. And
think I lost Olumide. Olumide, if you're speaking, I can't hear you. Olumide, if you're speaking, I can't hear you. But Idris, were you able to? Idris, can you hear Olumide?
No, sir, I can't hear him right now.
Okay,
but I started listening to him, but I lost him now. I can't hear him now.
Okay, but at least you got a few points that we made, right? At least that answered the question a bit. Okay.
Yes, it satisfies my question, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay,
so to assist for my question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. There are a lot of questions on my DM about should I buy Nigerian stock, should I buy Nigerian equities. I hope I've answered your question with that answer. This one is saying, should I sell my dollar? So again, guys, you are having a portfolio. Don't look at your dollar as one single item. Look at your dollar holdings as part of your portfolio. There is no portfolio manager or investment manager worth his salt that will tell you to sell everything you have in an economy like Nigeria. I would never advise you that if you have dollars in Nigeria, you should go and sell them. That's bad advice. Nigeria, the reality today is that the Nigerian Naira has 31% inflation. You can't eradicate that. As long as Nigeria has 31% inflation, you must diversify away from holding just one currency. That is advice that anybody worth his salt will tell you. And we've given this advice from 2020, I mean. If you go back to my Twitter feed, I think I even pushed it out yesterday. 2020, we told you to hold your dollar. Some spaces we've had it, we've said just simply holding a dollar has been the best performing investment really in Nigeria. And it's sad for me to say that because holding a dollar doesn't add any economic value to Nigeria. Simply holding a US dollar, there's no economic value added. All the money in DOM accounts is not adding any value to Nigeria. It's just sitting there in DOM accounts. So what Nigeria should have done is to issue a dollar bond. I want the CBN to issue a dollar bond and allow the banks in Nigeria to also issue dollar bonds. Take the money out of DOM accounts and invest it in the real economy. So if you go to your bank, the same way you can deposit dollars into your bank, you should be able to do a savings account in dollar or even buy a bond in dollar. So now once the banks have this dollar liquidity, then there will be no need for this instability that we see up and down, where we are chasing dollars here or chasing dollars there. The dollar price, in my view, is not 1,500 or 1,300. But if you have a shop, you do what's called replacement pricing. If you're a trader, you know what I'm talking about. When you have a store, you don't sell your goods at the price you bought them. You sell your goods at the price you will buy them in future. So what happened in Nigeria is that people that have goods are adding the perceived inflation of the dollar tomorrow to their price of goods because they're not sure if they will get this dollar tomorrow. So if they buy goods, they add a premium to it, which is that premium that you're now seeing as a dollar cost. It's not a question of that's the real thing. The Naira has lost its status as a store of value. And so people are taking other means. If you stop dollar, people will buy rice. If you stop rice, people will buy gold. That's why crypto is all the crypto everywhere. It's driven in part because young people want to have a place to trade and make money, and also to have to buy and keep their revenues intact. If you hold Naira at 31%, the dollar has gained 722 on the Naira in 10 years. How can you then say you want to have a portfolio with only Naira because you are patriotic? We're not doing patriotism here. We're doing Naira here. Olumide, please go ahead.
Yeah, so can we get ready to finish that part? So for me, I think I understand why a lot of people are concerned about your statement about holding dollar. The truth of the matter is that in all markets, despite the fact that we try to be more data-driven, your country's interests also play in hand. I cover the US market, for example, and I cover the European market. Europeans will tell you that, well, you can put you can convert your funds to dollars, but there's a premium when you have a dollar account. There's a premium indirectly. In fact, you get they do these things indirectly. But you see, the question here is that you can still. The truth of the matter is that if you can earn in dollar, it's good. go ahead. If you can invest in dollar, it's good. But the average Nigerian can't. The average Nigerian buys at the black market. He buys at a premium. Look at the rates. A lot of people bought this year. A lot of people bought Apple 1-2 this year. Now the naira has moderated almost at that level. So it means many Nigerians have lost, and that's why the demand there was so artificial that a lot of people saw that. If you can hold over the long period of time, that is good. But for the Nigerian economy, we need to understand that we are paying a price. If we want our economy to move forward, we definitely have to look at quality companies in our market. Look at the valuation of Access Bank, for example. Look at the profits they are printing out. Look at the valuation of JP Morgan. Look at the valuation. We always talk about foreign markets, but the reality is that we don't look at sustainable and productive investments in our market. Money market, for example, I give you an example. Money market alone, you made 40% just this quarter, because if you converted if you brought in money at 1.8, you converted to naira and you bought a 21% treasury bond. Now the naira is at 1.2. Do the math yourself. You just all you just need to, if the naira ends at 1.2 this year, you treat a 3-month bill, you made at least 40-50% cool cash. The problem with a lot of people is that we focus just on the dollar, and that is why a lot of people still cannot make money with the dollar. Crypto market is a good alternative investment. Stock market is a good alternative investment, but many Nigerians don't have that capacity.
So, let me give you a real life example. I spoke about this, I think it was last year. I spoke about this on the space before. I have a friend that lives in Lagos. His family lives in Canada, right? When his family moved to Canada, he was exchanging dollars to Canadian he was buying US dollars at about 151. When his family moved to Canada, that was the year 2012 or 2013. He was buying at $150 or so. Today he was buying at about 1,500. So before, he was telling me he buys dollars and then he sends. But now, anywhere he sees dollars, irrespective whether he's sending to his family or not, he buys and he keeps. Then he sends the dollars that he has already accumulated. Why is he accumulating dollars? Because he's losing naira interest and buying dollars. Because he says, I'm not even sure I will get these dollars I'm buying today at whatever price. I'm not sure I will get it tomorrow. So I better forego the dollar or the naira return and hold the dollar at a loss because I will have the availability. This same guy's comment is the same. I know that you do this geographical breakdown of cryptocurrencies. Look at the geographical breakdown of cryptocurrencies. Who do you see holding these currencies? Importers. These guys have discovered that the way you can import or pay for import is through crypto. So they are doing it because the CBN did not give them dollars. The CBN told them, go and get your dollars elsewhere. So they went elsewhere and they got their dollars through P2P, through crypto. That's how Nigeria has been funding imports since when CBN banned crypto and introduced a list of 44 items. The point is really this. As long as you do not have these dollars coming in steady, it has to be steady. Eventually, this cycle will play itself out again. If you look at the plotting of the Nigerian exchange rate and you plot it against the Nigerian crude oil exports, what you see is this: the naira will rise to a place, then to plateau. It will rise, it will plateau. It will rise, it will plateau, which means it gets to a new support, it stays there. It gets to a new support, it stays there. It doesn't fall. It will rise, stay there. Rise, stay there. The difference is how much it rises. In some instances, it rises by maybe 12%. Some in this last year, from 2023 till this year, it has risen exponentially. What's the word now? That big word. It has risen far too much, Olumide. And that's the problem we're seeing. It's not that the naira is not rising. I remember my mother pricing dollars to travel for 4 naira, 7 naira. I remember her as clear as day now. 4 naira. And she was complaining that it's too expensive. She was complaining back then. So it was always rising. The difference now is that it has gone from what? Where did we remove float? It has gone from that 500 to 1,500, 1,000 naira per.
Yeah. Yeah, but can you see the difference of what I'm telling you is that me and you can make those edge because we have significant amount of disposable income. I'm talking for the average Nigerian here.
They are
Because
buying crypto. Those boys are buying crypto.
Bankers here, and one of the things they say is that one of the problems a lot of Nigerians have is that they have big holding power. And if you look at it, for example, you, like you said, you invest for a long period. The average Nigerian does not have that mindset. And then you can do that. A Dangote can do what you're saying. But the average Nigerian that is looking at his income losing about 30% just to currency volatility does not have that capacity. And that is why I said that, see, currency speculation is not suitable for the average Nigerian. And that is why I also said that a lot of Nigerian citizens lose money to currency speculation because of wrong market guidance. Look at what Goldman Sachs did. When Goldman Sachs brought out their outlook and economic unit brought out, I was even more on economic intelligence unit that said that the Naira will follow. But you see, after meeting my bankers and meeting my investment strategy, I'm Nigerian for God's sake. I'm going to have exposure in Nigeria at one point or the other. So I was like, okay, at some point, let me limit my dollar exposure. Let me reduce. Let me look at the Nigerian. How bad can it get? And that was the form of hedging comes to play. But the average Nigerian does not even know what hedging is all about. The average Nigerian just tell you that, oh, I'm good to bookie, I'm buying. And that's why I said that, you see, your statement, yes, it makes a lot of sense. But to the average Nigerian, it makes him, it puts him in trouble. That's why you see them when the Naira goes to 1-2, they are shouting, they are crying.
Okay.
When it goes to 1-9, those that held are making money, they are celebrating. So you can see that they have vanilla strategies.
So those guys are trading. And let's be very, very clear here. We are not talking about trading. If you want to go and trade now, every day DMs are still coming now. Should I buy? I'm not interested in traders. I'm not talking to traders. I'm talking about the woman that is a middle class lady in Lekki or in Ikeja. Her husband, sorry I'm being sexist, gives her 100,000 naira to buy foodstuff. This is the person I'm talking about. If that lady keeps that money under her pillow, she's gonna lose 3%, 3.7%, 3.4% for food inflation. Food inflation in Nigeria is 37% annual, monthly 3.4%. This is the person I'm talking about. That housewife has discovered that if you take that 100,000 naira and buys $1 and keeps that same $1 under her pillow, when she takes that dollar again and sells it to naira, she still has her naira in her hand to buy her food stuff. This is the problem in Nigeria. That woman never bought dollars before, but because of the fall of inflation, that lady has now become a currency dollar holder. This is the problem. So more people are now holding dollars that never held it before. Before, dollar was traders, people that are traveling abroad, PTA, medical. Now you have the average rank and file holding $10, $15, $100 in their house because if they want to buy something, they go to the malam down the road, they change to naira, they trade. Those retail guys, if you add up their dollar holdings, is what is causing this lack of dollar. They buy, they hold, they release, and they sell. That's what's going on again. That lady will stop holding dollar if she goes to the market tomorrow and tomato has not gone up by 10%. Look at the NBS report on food. You go to the food. How can food be 37% inflation? This is official, which means unofficial is almost 50%. I was in Lagos. I showed you my videos. I went to the market, not Ajabota market. I went to mile 12. I went to Odota in the mud. I went there with those guys that are selling with wheelbarrow, selling okra. I met them. How much did you buy today? How much did you buy 3 months ago? These stories are crazy. As long as you do not capture food inflation, Naira will rise. So hear me, Naira will rise. This week, if you get to 1,000, it will rise. But how do we sustain this rise? If CBN wants, we all know you and I, CBN can make $1, $1. You and I know CBN can do it in 1 week. You and I know that. After that, what we do, we'll go back to this, okay, dollar remittance. So the issue is exports of crude oil, 89%. That's the issue nobody wants to talk about in Nigeria. Once you say dollar, they will abuse you. But 89% of your dollars come from export of crude oil. Why has nobody held the neck of NNPC and the security guard and say, why can we not increase crude oil exports in this country? Is it difficult? That's the problem. Let me get some guys. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead, sir.
Can just wait, but I think that's what the secret is doing. Because
Good evening, Kalu.
Hold on, let us speak and we'll get you just real quick.
The CBN has bought some time, and if you look at what the market is saying, the has been amplified.
Hold on.
You know, I was looking at my trading platform, and I could see the interest on the naira has really been on the rise, which we've not seen in past couple of months. So, Kalu, back to you. We all know this, we have structural issues, but the question here is that can the average Nigerian take advantage by just buying at the black market? The answer is no, and that's why I say that. See, we can only condemn. Making money is not emotional or being patriotic, as you said. But at the same time, you use whatever tool you have. The richest guys in this country are edging properly. Those that have dollar exposure in diaspora can afford to do these things you are saying. But the populists, they can't. Is it somebody that's earning, for example, someone that's earning 100,000 naira a month that buys $200 and he keeps it in his wallet, and before you know it, it has lost 40% of its value? Do you know the reactive response it has on the economy? And that's what I'm talking about.
Gotcha. No problem. Makes sense. Hang in there. Let's get Udeme. What's called? How's that, sir? UAD Ude Ahime. Did I get that right, sir? He's dropped off. Mr. Oshin. Oshin Sanjo.
Yeah.
Oshin, yeah, hi. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, okay. So you already touched on some of the points I wanted to talk about just now. I think I wanted to correct Olumide a bit on this. You are more like looking at holding the dollar as an investment instrument rather than a tool that you want to speculate on, buy at 1 night, hoping to sell at 3K and stuff like that. It's best for you to look at the dollar as an instrument, diversify your portfolio. Right, have exposure when it comes to the Nigerian markets. Have exposure when it comes to the US dollar. Right, that's the only way you can properly hedge your entire portfolio. So this space is not really for someone that wants to buy dollar and then keep. It's more for someone that wants to buy dollar to hedge his naira. Right, and you see the likes of Dangote, Elumelu, all of these guys are properly hedged their portfolios, and it's not now. It was something they started doing as far back as 2015, 2016. Dangote did that, right? Because it was losing a lot of its value. And we've also seen these FX fluctuations affecting companies as well. They are losing money as a result of FX, right? So basically, what I would probably advise to anybody, do not say you want to hold the dollar if you know that in the next 3 months you have need of the naira again. So you buy dollar and then maybe after some few weeks you now want to change and use the naira, right? You can just have a constant amount that you say, okay, yes, I want to be exposing this amount and keeping it in USD. That's stage one. Another stage, you can take it further and say, okay, rather than just keeping this dollar, I want to be able to earn interest from this dollar. So you could look for a dollar portfolio. There are quite a number of companies that allow you save and invest in dollar. Even if you are not buying stocks, you can earn some interest from it, right? So you can take a look at all those companies. If I would say this, but it depends on what your financial situation might be. But personally, what I do is this. Right now, if I do not have need for naira, I do not keep the naira, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to have like how do I put this down? You want to have some currency in dollar in order for you to at least maintain your purchasing power, because the naira is losing value. And so even though the naira has gained strength now in the last like 2-3 weeks, or 4 weeks thereabouts. Even though the naira has gained strength now, we are not yet seeing that impact in the market. Why? Because of inflation, right? A box of noodles went as high as 16,000, 17,000. A bag of rice is almost 100,000. Rewind back like 8 years, 9 years ago, the same bag of rice was 7,000. A box of noodles was around 1,250. One bag was around 90 naira, far back as 2015. Today is almost 1,000 naira. Peak milk is over 8,000. The big tin is about 61,000. So you can see inflation in at a very alarming rate when it comes to food, which is what everybody can do without. You must eat, right? So inflation is hitting hard in that area. So it depends on, again, it depends on how you're able to analyze or view your portfolio.
And again,
look at USD more as an instrument rather than something you want to speculate on. And that's just what I just
and I think you've hit the point. I think you've seen it a lot better than I have done. The point is this: as long as food is 34% official inflation, more market women are going to hold dollar. That's just the reality. So to now tell those market women that are holding dollar, they should sell their dollar because the dollar on the black market has fallen in price. The food is still 37%. How does it make sense to them? If the dollar price goes to 1-to-1, but they can't buy the food, then what are they selling the dollar for? On what basis is the strength of the dollar reflective in what they see on the market? Have food prices fallen?
Exactly.
Dollar price has gone up, Abi. Has a goat for Salah or chicken for Christmas, has the price gone down? So why would they sell their dollar? Because $1 is $1. $1 is $1. You get the opportunity cost of dollar is naira. Opportunity of naira is dollar. So $1 is $1. You can still take that dollar to Togo or America and spend it. Can you take naira to Togo or America and spend it? Let me get Ocean. Let me get Mr. He dropped off. Udemy. Sorry. I apologize if I got the name wrong. Sorry. What's the question?
That's fine. Good evening, everyone. So I joined in by chance, and just wanted to say a few things in terms of what I know. Add to a few things that Lude was saying. I think over the last, I think it's 20-30 years, we've looked at the fundamentals of the Nigerian economy only from a monetary perspective, which for me is something that we need to step back from. Everything has to do with the CPI. Everything has to do with exchange rate. Everything has to do with money supply. But the first question you need to ask yourself is 95 trillion in the economy, and the economy is not moving. Why? Because the velocity of these monies are not spinning as quickly as possible to create new wealth, to create employment. And what are these fundamentals? Like in the number of people I was reading through the chat, and the number of people have said, if you don't get electricity right, you won't move. Why is food inflation 37% and inflation is 31% today? Because the logistics of moving food from one point to the other is so hazardous, is so bad that we can't even move food. I grew up at a time when, and I say this in all honesty, when the naira fell against the dollar was in the 80s, when it dropped below a naira to $1. And subsequently, we just always got to the fundamentals right. We have not built our fiscal parts of the economy. And like you said, why are we not doing 2 million barrels? Because we have that capacity in place. But of course, the neglect of investment in these areas to even boost those capacities. When people are talking about oil, Iran has been on oil sanctions for God knows how long, but they've improved on their production capacity to the extent that at a point in time where we were at the same point with Iran, today Iran can do 4-5 million barrels a day, and we're still struggling to do 2 million barrels in capacity. And if your exchange rate, your export earnings has 90 or 90% for crude oil, what are we doing? How are we producing? What are we producing? What are we exporting? We need to focus on the issues of, I know at the point in time, so many of the West African countries used to come and buy food from Nigeria. It was cheaper, production was easier, the ease of movement was easier. And until we get back to those fundamentals, how do
most times when I think about a number of things, I think about the 1930 recession in America. Why? The government decided that it was time for you to get people into work. And how do you do that? There's so many things in infrastructure that we need to do. And one, we are not putting those monies through capital markets so that we can see that those people who are actually even doing them, we can get some reports about them. Even if they have some other things behind it, but at least we can see those things and we can ask those questions. We're putting direct people on to building roads, digging gutters. We're giving out contracts in terms of the fact that I want to repair a grade C road that takes me to the farm to bring out farm produce. And then I give the contract to X, Y, Z and Sons for hundreds of billions, and the roads are never built. So if we don't come back to the fundamentals of matching our fiscal against the monetary, we're just going to continually say, oh, the dollar rose today, or the dollar did not rise today. And like we all know, the fighting, this was done in 2016, 2017, we're fighting dollar exchange rate against it. But we're going to pay for it because Treasury bills interest for hot money that's coming into Nigeria is already 21%.
Of course.
We're not going to pay for those Treasury bills.
Of course.
And these are questions we need to ask ourselves.
Exactly. That's
these
the
are
point.
serious. The exchange rate has fallen to 1-2, and we're doing 21% on Treasury bills. If I had $1 million, 5% in America, I gamble. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Bring it here for 1 year, 21%, take a discount or whatever it is. Worst, I will make $150,000 in terms of interest, and that's more than the 5% I will get in America and Europe. So let me just leave it at that.
And again,
to join your space.
I wanted to make mention of something else, Carlo, quickly. We are trying to slow down. The CBN is trying to slow down inflation, right? But at the same time, the federal government is also saying they are going to paying 15,000 naira to XYZ households. They are planning on increasing minimum wage. Okay, so I'm like, will all of these things slow down inflation? You are mopping money out, but then you are pumping back in, right? I don't know. What's your view on this? Maybe this is something that you can also touch on. Because it's something I find, I don't know.
No, say that again, please. Say that again, please. Can you make that point again?
Okay, I said the CBN is trying to slow down inflation, right? Which is why they've been increasing interest rates and all of that, right? They've been using their tools. But the federal government is saying they are paying 15,000 naira to XYZ number of homes.
Yeah.
They plan on increasing minimum wage and all of that.
Yeah.
So, want to reduce inflation, but you're pumping money in.
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay. Does it make sense actually?
I get you. See, the thing is this, right? I'm a capitalist, right? But I must say this: wages in Nigeria are too low. They are just too low.
I agree. Yeah. Wages are low, and it's majorly because yes, we are earning in naira, but we are indirectly.
Yeah, the reason is that
virtually everything.
We don't have. The reason is that we don't have productivity in Nigeria. The Nigerian worker is very unproductive. Hence, their wages are not real wages. You know, if you want to know a country that has unproductive workers, just go to a high-rise building. If you see a lift elevator or a guy there operating a lift, that's your sense. You know, if you go to New York, those expensive buildings have lift operators, because they are like concierge buildings. They are very expensive. But if you go to Nigeria as well, you see those elevators in the there's a guy, his job is to press a button to move the lift up and down. Why? Because his wages are so low that we can afford to employ that guy. You know, I've never seen a guy in America with a driver. I know there are people that have drivers, but I've never met anyone myself that owns a driver. Maybe a nanny that comes and stays. But I've never seen anyone that has a driver or a living nanny or a living gardener. Bill Gates has them. But you don't see average folks, because wages, the productivity of the Nigerian worker is so low. The average middle class family in Nigeria would have one driver or two drivers, two house girls, one gateman, one cook. This is average middle class. So highest, you have one driver, one cook, one house girl. Average is not, they're not rich. They live in Abia, they live in Aba. They will have this same staff, the average Nigerian. Why? Because wages are nothing. So they have to increase wages. The point is, how do we pay for these wages? Do we do taxes? Do we do sell to an asset? Well, that's a different discussion. But you cannot pay a worker. I heard the earpiece guy saying if you earn 200,000 naira in Nigeria, you will not emigrate. Wow. I like the guy, so I don't want to hit the guy that hard on Twitter. But you can't say that, sir. You can't say that. You know, that 200,000, I give you this is an example of Costco chicken. Costco chicken is $5. $5. That represents 0.04 of the average worker's pay in America. 0.4, something like that. So the guy flipping burger in America, the lowest paying job in America, on federal law, I'm not talking about the wages paid in rich states. I'm talking about the federal minimum wage in America is $7.25 an hour. That guy can afford that chicken at 0.4% of his total take home for the month. 0.4. In Nigeria, that chicken is 25% of the guy's take home. So that same chicken, a guy in America can buy it at 0.4%. A guy in Nigeria has to use 25% of his take home to buy a $5 chicken. That's 500. So wages have to go up, and it can only go up through productivity, which creates wealth, which then allows the NLC to get paid $1 million. And I don't think if you pay them $1 million, that inflation will go up. I think there's lots of compressed demand in Nigeria, that if you pay workers $1 million in Nigeria, they're going to go out and buy food and buy products that they could not afford before. How many workers have you seen that have bought a brand new AC or brand new fridge? Just look at your neighbors. Don't look at positions, your normal neighbors. How many neighbors do you know? Maybe they don't work in a bank that bought a brand new car. Okay, forget a car, AC or fridge. How many people do you know in Lagos, richest state in Nigeria, that bought a brand new fridge or brand new AC or brand new television? How many do you know? So there's a compression. There's no consumption in the country because the country is no power now, no wealth creation. I went to barber in Lagos. When you walk into the barber store, they cut your hair is 10,000. Then you have to agree that they will on generator for you before they'll cut your hair. So the generator is not on because of course they can't put diesel on. So they will on generator, the barber will quickly cut your hair, they will put it off. That's a service industry. Cutting your hair, that's supposed to come, they will massage your hair, wash your hair. They don't have time for that nonsense because they're using diesel. So that answers your question, bro. And again, he was making a point, Mr. Adimo was making a point that there's 95 trillion naira in circulation. 95 trillion. And dollar is going up. They've not released FAC yet too. All these things, let me just say to you, dollar will follow. The question is what will happen tomorrow. That's my own. You know, I'm giving you financial planning. I'm not doing trading. I'm not doing accounting. I'm telling you, if you have a portfolio, diversify it. That's what I'm telling you. Take that any day of the year. Bring it back to me in 50 years, 100 years, I will still be right. Diversify your portfolio, especially if the other portfolio is depreciating at 37% to buy food. Diversify your portfolio. On that hill, I will die. Chuka, I've got you, I've got Akin. Chuka, go ahead. Chuka?
Okay, yeah, I'm in a noisy place.
Okay, let me take Akin.
I'm in a noisy place, but I'm just listening to what you guys
Sure. So drop off if you're not speaking. So we know you don't want to speak. Akin.
Okay, you said something. You said something about production, like how to increase the country's high minimum wage. So how do we work on production, like making the workers, the average worker, to utilize in terms of the production aspect where you just said like a minute ago or something like that. So
just power. Create power supply. Let there be power. So if you have power, that barbing salon I went to can hire 2 workers instead of 1 worker because they will take the money for this and hire a second worker. Just create power. All the government needs to do, pass the policy on power and get out of the way. The private sector will take over. Just create power is enough. Then there will be wealth generated at the very, very local level. Pass policies and the wealth will be generated. We don't need the government to do anything. Pass the policy, get it out of the way. Akin, how you doing?
Yeah, hello, Carlos. So Thank you for getting me on the street. I would say that when it comes to the issue of basically macroeconomic, the way in which the government and even Labour to have done some of the policies and the issues that the current economy is facing. I know you always say things about electricity and how electricity is somehow going to be stimulus to the economy. I think maybe that's probably applies more in the long term, but in the short to medium term, I'm not so convinced that it's going to be as strong as you argue. A good example that we can show of that should be a cautionary tale for us is what is going on currently in Ghana. We have a situation where government invested heavy amounts of dollars in power and all of that, and it didn't translate into economic growth, at least in the short term. Probably in the long term, it probably pays off. Now, the point that I'm trying to make there is that Nigeria doesn't have the productive use for, let's say, having 24 hours electricity for the whole country. Whether we want to wish it into existence or not, that will take probably 5, 10, 15, 20 years before we're able to get to that position where if you get 24 hours, like it stimulates certain industries to come up that otherwise would currently exist. The thing is that when it comes to the productivity issue, I think there's some tax incentives that the government could give in order to get companies either to train workers or to even just incentivize them, encourage them to upskill their workers to actually improve productivity. So, for instance, you hire somebody maybe that hasn't gone to university but has a good wife and neko, and you say for everyone that you hire with so and so, with maybe a neko or a wife, you probably give them a tax rebate or a tax deduction or something of that sort. It's done in other countries. I think that's something that we really need to do as a society. Instead of this situation where we are encouraging entrepreneurship, basically one-man businesses that really do not scale, do not create the wealth that is needed to improve the economic performance of the country and pull the country out of poverty and destitution that we currently face. For instance, now we have a lot of companies in the trading sector. Let's ask ourselves this question: how productive is the trading sector of the Nigerian economy? It's usually one or two people business. How much technology are they using? How much is that improving the welfare and improving the productivity situation of the economy? It's really limited in that way. So I just feel that there are just some microeconomic decisions that the government could be making that is currently not doing. Oil, so boosting oil is one way to get dollars into the economy, but the issue with this clamor for, we should boost oil production is that you get to a point where you are boosting oil production and then you could be stuck. You could be stuck in the sense that the naira starts to appreciate and get into the familiar cost, the resource cost thing, or the Dutch disease thing, where the currency is so strong and you destroy your manufacturing sector, your export sector, export sector that you have. And that probably affects the economic performance of the country going forward. So I think we need to do it in such a way that in the short term we say maybe 3 to 5 years we're going to increase oil production from about 1.5, 1.6 million today to say about 2.2 in the next 3-4 years, while at the same time encouraging manufacturing, high-tech manufacturing in other parts of the economy, so that we don't get into the system where we are so highly dependent on just one commodity.
Okay, I hear you, but that's just so that we can. So I mean, you're making 2 points. Number one, let's just be clear. The problem in Ghana is not the availability of electricity; it's the cost. The way they signed their contract in Ghana was that they had to pay for power they did not even need or use. the Ghana economy today is better for having electricity. It's how they signed that contract. They are paying for power they don't need or use. In my village today, if you bring power to my village 24/7, they will make Gary cheaper. If they make Gary cheaper in my village, they can export and they can make more wealth in my village. And in every village in Nigeria, it's a non-starter. I was in Lagos a month ago. There is no power supply in Lagos. I'm making a bold statement. Everywhere was in generators. The hotel I stayed in, they have to do a special increase in rates to pay for diesel. They just appeal to everyone, listen, we want you guys to pay a special on your bill for diesel, and we paid. So if you had power supply, you reduce 30% of the cost of finished goods. That's 30% inflation will fall, because all the goods in Nigeria will now fall by a certain margin, which is that diesel price margin. Bread, beans, everything will fall because power supply is cheaper. That's number one on power. So there's no starter, there's no argument there. Once you have power, your economy will triple because we don't have it. So once we have it, there's no issue there. On number two, on crude oil, the same argument. Nigeria, remember 2005, we were already at 2.2 million barrels a day. So we're not increasing, we're just going back to where we were. If we were at 2.2 million barrels a day, then you can argue that, okay, let us now take it a bit slower and say we want to grow crude oil and grow agriculture and grow something else. But we're falling from where we were, from 2.2 million barrels a day, we've gone below that 1.5. So now Nigeria has got to go back to the 2.2 billion barrels a day. When we are there, we can then start saying, okay, what's the economic plan? Should we do trade? Do we do agriculture? Do we do services? Do we do crude oil and gas? That's what we need to do. Right now, we still don't have enough urea fertilizer. That's from crude oil and gas. We don't have enough engine oil, enough PMS, enough lubricants. We don't have enough of even this crude oil we are saying we should diversify away from. We haven't done enough even on the crude oil. How many wells do we have? Texas has more oil than Nigeria. Angola is doing more than us. Libya is doing near us. Libya fighting civil war. Angola doing near Nigeria. So I would say if we maximize it, then we can pull back. But for now, we have a long way to go, Aki. Long way to go. Your point, you are true, but the fact that I was speaking to someone, Ghana is the costing, not the availability, and Nigeria has got to get back to 2.2 before we start.
So, Carla, I want to make a point about this. This argument you're talking about power is, I think you're making the argument, or I believe that if Nigeria should get to a point where we are supplying excess power, at least power that the country actually needs, the cost of power is going to go up. Now, what is the willingness of consumers to actually pay higher prices for power? How easy will it be for factories to be able to pass on the cost of...
Akin, the price will not go up, it will go down. Akin, it will go down. It won't go up, Akin. It will go down, not up. Akin, it will go down. Akin, hold on. Akin.
To the lay person, they just think, oh, if you just do power, you just solve the problem of the country. It's not really like that. It's not that straightforward. Especially in a low productivity economy like Nigeria. It's not like dealing with a US economy or Germany where you can easily allocate labor. Labor can easily...
Akin, you are being... Akin, you are being a bit too technical. This is a very, very simple thing. In Nigeria today, if I want to make bread, I put my generator on. So I go and buy diesel or PMS, run that generator, make bread and sell. So the cost of agege bread is power, diesel. The agege bread has diesel power in that cost. If there was public supply, the cost of public supply is cheaper than me putting on my generator. Even though that cost of power goes up, it is cheaper than me running my diesel. That's the point I'm making. So the cost of agege bread will fall. So the cost of power will go up, but the cost of goods in Nigeria will fall, and Nigeria will become more productive. That's the point I'm making. There's no argument here. There is none. You can't go to anywhere and argue that if there's no power and introduce power, the country will not get better. What was the Industrial Revolution all about? There is no argument to be had here, Akin. None.
See, the thing is, okay, so the thing is, I know you probably say, but I think sometimes the way you present economic information, you present it in this extremely facile, very straightforward way. But in reality, that is not always that straightforward. I think even you do know that just saying you are going to improve power does not mean this, and these factors just improve. It's not always like that. So, for instance, now you're talking about bread. If you increase power to the entire country, and okay, they are no longer using the generators, instead they are using public power, public electricity. Now, you and I know that there are other factors that contribute to the pricing of goods. It's not just input costs. There's also competition in markets. Nigeria has a problem where you have situations where you have industries that are extremely concentrated. Yes, you may increase, so yes, you may reduce input costs, but then if they're in uncompetitive markets, they will not reduce prices. You will just get a situation where prices will stay the same, people will be making more profits, and people will be wondering, how is it that power has come and still we are still paying the same thing for rice, for bread, for so many other things. It's not that straightforward. That's my point.
Okay. I don't see. I'm not here. We're not running an MBA class. We're not writing a thesis. What we are saying has no argument. We all went to school. If a city does not have electricity and you introduce electricity to that city, the cost of doing business in that city will go down. And the city would manufacture more goods at a lower cost and create more wealth. You can argue how I'm presenting it from here, and you might have a point, and you can say I'm making it sound simple. That is a different topic entirely. My position could be right or wrong, but the facts of the matter is what we are talking about. The reason why American workers earn more than Nigerian workers is that they have more tools of trade. But in Nigeria, do we have any laboratories, any tools of trade that don't use electricity? In Lagos, the commercial capital of the largest economy in Africa, there is no steady power supply, even for 5 hours. That's the point I'm making. So if you introduce steady power supply to the largest economy in Africa, their output would increase. If their output increases, then their productivity increases. Then wealth is created. Then more jobs are created. It's a simple point. To bring in how I'm presenting it, it doesn't dent the point in any way. It doesn't take away from the main tenets, the logos of the argument. So therefore, we'll have to move on. Mr. Ago H, Ago 2. Ago 2.
Hi,
how you doing, my dear?
I think I was in Nigeria while you were in Nigeria.
Why didn't you see? Why didn't we see?
Literally, I came with my toddler,
okay.
And we had to leave our house because we're running generator on. And maybe if I didn't come with my toddler, right, would have been fine, but the poor child couldn't sleep. So at some point, we just moved to the hotel. It was just ridiculous. Anyways, since this Naira's threatening, has anyone looked at the P2P market to see the volume? Because my husband is a tech guy behind the P2P, and he said he's noticed that volume has reduced.
Yeah, Olimde is your man for that. Olimde is your guy that will tell you if volume has gone up or gone down.
Okay, he said, so I have a sister who is always sending money from Toronto, and I called, I was like, oh, I used to send waiting. If I need $10 for DSTV, now only $10 that they send. So like, when the Naira depreciated, I think it gave diaspora an incentive to send more money home. So there's downside to this strengthening, right? And my husband is like, he hasn't seen the volume, maybe it will pick up. But from the diaspora point of view, let me say Canada, he hasn't seen it yet, but he's saying maybe it will pick up. But at the moment, everybody's holding that dollar tight.
But why? Okay, because it's now gone from 1.5 to 1.1. You guys are sort of waiting for it to go back to 1.5. Is that what you're saying?
I think what he's saying, that the confidence is not there yet. They're just like, whatever, I think we'll fall again, right? So the confidence is not right there. And it's like, I'm not going to send $100 and just leave my Naira in my account not working for me. So my younger sister is an accountant. That one is very tight with money. I was like, if I need $10 to pay that is DSTV, I'm only sending $10. I'm not sending $20 because I don't want Naira sitting in my account and later DSTV will increase price in 3 months, right? So I guess the confidence is not yet there. Maybe it will come, I don't know, but at the moment it's not.
Are they not seeing that the CBN has attracted, I would say in the last month, they've attracted nearly $4 billion because of the increase in the OMO rates. $4 billion has come in, I think. Remittances have gone up a bit. Like I said, apart from crude oil, CBN is doing everything correct. And they can't do crude oil. Are they not seeing that fact that money is actually coming to Nigeria? Do you hear the point I'm making? Money is actually...
I see the point you're making, but those are institutional investors.
Okay.
These are not everyday mom and pop, me and you sending money home.
Gotcha.
Is that not what we are? The ones that literally drive the economy. We are the ones that keep it sustainable, right?
Yeah.
The mom and pop. Institutional investors will always take advantage of increased rates, right? But we are the ones, the grassroots, we are the ones that is keeping the economy standing. We are the ones sending money to our parents to buy bread, to buy tomatoes. Those are the ones keeping the economy. And if ours in the diaspora decided to like, oh, screw this, I'm reducing my transfer because I know it's going to fall again, right? Doesn't it have
it does. It does. That's why I'm asking those follow-up questions. It does have that impact. Yeah, because if remittances go down, remittances have actually what has kept Nigeria going. When NNPC fails, remittances go up and all that. So if remittances start to go down, it will affect us even more. So I hope that you guys will reconsider. You guys should talk to your people and send more money home.
Sorry to say this. Wadi again. Remittances actually went down. They went down in the last 4 years drastically. So what is pushing the market today? And Olumide, correct me if I'm wrong. Is foreign portfolio investment, and it's just to be able to ensure that we drive the exchange to what will bring about stability in the economy, so that businesses can actually plan properly. Not like you said, not the one that you're buying. You buy dollar at 1,000 and then your replacement cost is 1,200.
Yeah.
That's where we are. And what's suffering for that, like you said, is the OMO bills.
Yeah.
We're going to pay for that in interest. So,
we didn't talk about this point. You raised this point. I forgot to talk about this point. That Nigerians are not seeing that what is happening is the CBN is borrowing money at 21% and selling to the BDCs at below market. So eventually we have to pay while subsidizing this thing and all that. We didn't talk about that, yeah.
Which is the same thing we've been doing for years now. It's rinse and
it's been going on. It was what kept the dollar stable between 2016 and 2017. Are you with me? And it's the same logic that is being used today. Keep it down.
And each time it happens, it falls even harder. Each time it happens.
Let me share, guys. I'm going to share that infographic again of the exchange rates compared to the dollar exchange, the dollar crude oil exports compared to the exchange in Nigeria from 1985. I'm going to share it again, and you see the graph, and it's a very, very interesting graph.
The truth is,
it doesn't fall.
Before all of this Naira appreciation thing happened a few weeks ago, I've done some technical analysis, and my charts were telling me 2.5. So I wouldn't be surprised if that still happens.
I think your chart needs to...
that chart is wrong.
I think his chart needs to sleep because the thing is that you don't understand the type of currency market we run. And see, just like what Karen said, I want to say it again. Every normal or elementary economist knows that the Naira is a derivative of crude oil exports. But the issue here is that there are always gaps and there are always cycles in each economy. Now, the cycle Cardoso is doing right now is the short and mid-term. We all know that Nigeria definitely is dependent on FOSU. But what Cardoso has been able to do and his team has been able to amplify trust. What they did in the P2P market, like the last person was asking, it's not that the P2P market was not really playing a systemic role.
But the P2P market had the reference power because a lot of Nigerians use Binance to check unofficial rates. But that is not happening again because NCC has blocked most of the sites online. So you either app or certificated traders. Now, the market is still in a bullish trend. So you see Nigerians trading the mini coin market, but these are certificated traders on the average. Guys that have stable coin of exposure are now going to Bybit. And if you can't compare Bybit with Binance, it's like comparing a GT or Access with Unity Bank. So no matter how productive that product of Unity Bank is, the volume will definitely have dropped. And that's answering that question. Now, finally, I think where we should focus on is why Goldman Sachs said the Naira will be at 1.2 and why EUI said the Naira will be at 2,000, because we are missing the conversation entirely. On the longer time scale, the dollar will be stronger than the Naira. Everybody knows that. But the question is, do you have the ability to hold when the Naira falls, when the Naira gains so strong? The answer has shown that many Nigerians don't have the ability, and that is where my argument is. That if you don't have the ability, why don't you edge with what ability you have?
So Olumide, I get your point exactly now. So essentially, don't enter the kitchen if you can't stay in the kitchen.
Exactly,
Kalu. Exactly. Olumide, thanks.
So don't trade. So Olumide, in English, he's saying if you are not able to, if you don't have the means to buy dollar and to hold dollar, please don't go and buy or sell or trade. Just stay on your lane.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying all since. And that was why I said, follow the successful guys in our market. Look at the things they do. People start from humble beginnings. A lot of people try to do things because they are friends. Some guys earn FX. You don't know what Kalu earns, for example. You can't do what Kalu does because he has so much exposure. You can't do almost 5 currencies in different markets. So you have to look at, that is what personal finance is all about. And that's why we come to this space to share ideas on how to mitigate personal risk, not macro levels. The CBN knows what they're doing at the short term, and they're trying to give the fiscal side by time. What should you do with that? Does it mean you should buy at the black market, or does it mean you should sell, or does it mean these are things we should be talking about?
Olumide and the guys, look at my Twitter feed right now. I just shared an infographic there. It's the trend of oil price and exchange rates. It's from 1986 to 2018. Look at that chart. You will see that the Naira and crude oil exports were the same from 85. There was a small bump in 1990 till 1998. They were the same. Then in 1998, I don't know what, I'm sure I find it. 1998, that's when the madness started. You can see that the valuation just went up. It doesn't come down. It goes up, finds resistance, stays, goes up, finds resistance, stays on support, goes up, finds resistance, stays like that. That's what's happening. Look at 2016. Exactly what is happening today is what happened in that 2016. Exactly. And it is still, this chart stopped 2018. So if you open this chart up to 2024, you will see exactly what is happening today is what we are seeing in that 2016. You can see the exact same thing 2014. Exact same thing 2008. Exactly the same thing. What has not changed in here? The oil output. Look at the oil output in Nigeria. Look at it. So it's right there. That chart should be your answer. It's right there I just shared it on my tweet, on my timeline. So all this short term, dollar has gone up, dollar has not gone up. Olumide has told us, Olumide said, if you cannot be in the kitchen, if you can't take that heat, leave that kitchen, stop trading. If you have money you want to buy, like Ogogo said, she has money, she wants to pay DSTV, she sent $100. That one is not for trading, it's for she's holding it to exchange and buy something in Naira. Okay, but this trading matter, open up that chart. This is not new. What we are seeing today happened 16, happened 14, happened 08, happened 1998. Look at the chart, it's right there. So let's all chill. Let us all chill. And their patriotism, chill. Mr. Goodwill, how are you doing, sir?
Hello, sorry, please, can I just quote him? Just buttress on what you just said. I'm going to leave like soon. With this $1 thing here, there's smart money, there's dumb money. What's the difference? A few differences. Time frame. Smart money has a longer time frame. Dumb money has a short time frame. He thinks he's going to make it soon or in the medium term. Smart money has a big and deep portfolio, dumb money always loses in the market because he has a narrow or no portfolio. Then there's staying power. Smart money has a healthy cash position and a sustainable inflow. Like what Olumide was just trying to say. Some people earn in effect. Some people earn, so you can't just buy and say, because it's going up or it's been going up, let me buy for 2 months and see how much I'll earn. A friend asked me that, I told him, don't do it, because I knew exactly what, he's a family man, I'm not. And okay, but then if you must trade around this, if you must make some cash off the Naira in the next, say, for between now and December, this is my own take. The Naira goes above 1,450, you can pick up. Naira crosses that threshold, you should cash in, or you should basically don't go in at that point in time. But again, you don't have to take my word for it. The US dollar itself has possible headwinds. The Fed could cut. If the Fed cuts today, the Naira's dynamics is a little bit shaky, but it just makes FPI all the more attractive. So yeah, just the thing is, you can take a loss on this decision. So it's not supposed to be an investment strategy or something you base a whole investment decision on. No, use it to hedge, or basically know that you can take a hit, and if you can withstand that hit, especially if you're like some of us who's gained almost 80% or more on the USD, then no problem. If not, I wouldn't advise it. But you're right, Kalu. If you're talking long term, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, the dollar would always beat the Naira. There's no going around it. It's just
unless suddenly, let me just. If you hear tomorrow, if you wake up tomorrow and you hear that NNPC has exported to 1.9 million barrels and that they're online to export 2 million, go and sell your dollars. If you hear that one, but I'm not sure you're going to hear it. Mr. Goodwill,
I totally agree.
I'm just saying, it's oil. It's all about oil. Look at the chart. I just shared that chart. It's all about oil price. Stop asking, will dollar go up or down? Rather be asking, will NNPC import or export more oil? That's what you should be asking. Don't ask where the Naira will go to. Ask where the dollar export is going to go to. And that will answer your question. Mr. Goodwill, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir.
Okay, good. So, actually, I wanted to jump in when someone was talking about the cost of production, that it wouldn't change that much when you have power infrastructure in place. You see, the thing is, you want to understand is there's, we have several theories that can back this up, that can back up the fact that when you provide those infrastructures, okay, you create economic activities within that ecosystem. And economic activities generally create wealth, create tax revenue for the taxing authority within that area. And besides, for those that are producing, for those manufacturers, or those small business owners, there's what we call the dollar cost average, where you have a fixed amount of investment that you put in place over a started period of time, and that automatically creates value, exponential value, much more than if you are, if you keep fluctuating your investment size. So just like you have production, if people want to establish a fixed or a predictable cost of production, if you have fossil fuel, fuel, diesel, gas that has exposure, that have tendency for price fluctuation over a period of time, then that does not do the small business owner any good by seeing that cost variations over an extended period of time. So they would also change the cost at which the price at which they give to the consumers, they pass on to the consumers, as the fluctuations keep that cost changing over time. But if you have a power infrastructure in place, there's a steady outlay of cost over an extended period of time. And you can see that stability in terms of not just the cost, but also the price passed on to consumers. And overall, the minimum changes, the minimum percentages that they pass on and all that will create a stable price, and it will actually create a conducive environment for the, not just for the consumer, but also for the manufacturer. So the discounts, the contribution of the previous speaker, who was discounting the impact of a power manufacturer being put in place as a way to actually create that production, that value that we all need, is just nonsensical, in my opinion. But I don't want to hog the mic. I've got a couple of contributions to make, but I'll just let the conversation continue. I'll come in, I'll jump in and share some more.
Good. I didn't really get. I think that guy's question was, he was talking about the style of the presentation. I don't think he was arguing with the fact. I mean, power is basic. There is no argument that if you bring power to any state in Nigeria, the protein will not go up. Look at Abia making noise because of small geometric up and down. Won't hear word again. Take power to any place in Nigeria, that place becomes more wealthy. It's anywhere. I'm not really sure if the argument is how we present, but let's really focus on what is apparent. Dr. Avram, sir. I got Wazopian.
Hello. Good afternoon. It's afternoon where I am. I've always listened to your spaces, but for quite a while now, and just silently listen. But today I just thought I should chip in my 2 pence. For starters, disclaimer: I am not an economist. I'm not an investor. I'm just a humble surgeon somewhere in the corner of the world somewhere. The Olumide, thank you for what you've been saying, but I feel Olumide is almost like a government. I don't know if he's a government official.
It's not.
I think a lot of what he's been saying is almost like defending the status quo as the best possible. But before I go on, I just want to talk about the gentleman who was trying to diminish the importance of power supply. I don't know. I live in Canada, right? I've lived in the UK. I live in Canada right now, but I've been privileged to visit a few African countries, particularly in East Africa. I think if that speaker goes to Tanzania and Kenya, he would realize the importance of constant power supply. I have to say that the first time I went to Tanzania, I was blown off my feet. So before I went, my impression was that, of course, there's always this delusion that we have. Forgive me. Let's say an illusion. I won't say delusion, but certainly an illusion that we have of Nigeria being quote and unquote the giant of Africa. So of course, if you're going to any other African countries, you're tempted to be a bit condescending, since you're the giant of Africa. Until I got to Tanzania, and I said to myself from then on, if anybody ever mentions to me Nigeria is some giant of Africa, then I'm not going to hear anything else they're going to say, because Tanzania is able to produce uninterrupted power supply, and because of that, they have a super vibrant small and middle scale economic activity that has kept the country going. They don't have the oil that we have. They don't have so much else that we potentially can boast of. Okay, I know they got this thing they call Tanzanite, which is some very special jewel mineral, but that's not on such a huge scale. And that's Tanzania. Excellent road services. I went to Arusha specifically. Excellent road services, excellent education, interaction with colleagues, And then Kenya. I've been to Kenya a few times. Same story. So I think part of the problem we may be having in Nigeria is people need to go see what's happening. Some African countries that are quietly but gradually making great economic stride, and see what they've got that we haven't got, rather than basking in this pseudo-euphoria or being the giant of Africa. So that's that about the power generation thing. If you improve power supply, there will be a leap and bound of economic activity. That would generate wealth, that would generate income, that would improve the quality of life of people. I'm in healthcare. I can tell you what a constant power supply will do to your healthcare. And the healthier you are, the wealthier you are. That's that about that. Now, in terms of the oil production, I don't get it why. Again, I've also taken the liberty to go to some Middle East countries. Particularly, I've been to Oman a few times. I actually have friends there. And again, going there, I was trying to see, because it's a much smaller country in terms of population, yes. But I wanted to see how they're able to use their oil wealth to grow their people and their country. Question remains, what is the problem in Nigeria? Why can't we improve our oil supply? The guy talking about CBN. What is CBN doing? What are they doing with the NNPC? What can somebody get on the NNPC to tell us why we can't get a million barrel output daily to 2 million and above? We have the OPEC quota. Why are we not fully utilizing the OPEC quota?
Thank you.
And then this business of oil theft. How do you steal oil? The first time I live in Canada, it might shock people to realize that Canada is actually an oil producing country and they produce a hell of a amount of it. How do you steal oil? I mean, how do you... So Mr. Olumide, please, if you're a government official, we need answers and we need them quickly. Is it because it grieves? I left Nigeria over 20 years ago. It grieves our heart. I went to, like I said, going to Tanzania, going to Kenya. I just thought, look, Nigerians, we need to get our act together. There is no excuse. There is no beating around the bush. These people are putting us to shame. You know, so Mr. Olumide, if you're a government official, please, these things need to be addressed ASAP. You know,
Doc, it wasn't Olumide. It wasn't Olumide.
It wasn't
Olumide.
I may not be passionate about this.
I know, but it wasn't Olumide.
But let me just round up. To say that, well, you say it good as you may. The CBN going to borrow money to start the value of the naira. I don't know the wisdom. You say it's creating confidence, but the investors know how that confidence came about. For example, I'm just a little me, my own little corner, but by the grace of God, I earn good amounts of dollars. I do. I'm not ashamed to say that. But I know how the current artificial improvement in the value of naira has come about. That has not increased my own confidence in anything. So I just want to leave it there for us. Look, we can provide better answers than we are trying to put.
Thank you. I was trying to make it. Hold up. Let Olumide just. Olumide is to speak because
What the 30 seconds. So just think of the fact that Nigeria is an oil producing country, and the biggest refinery that we have today, Dangote Refinery, is importing crude oil from overseas just to provide feedstock for its own refinery. Isn't that the most absurd thing ever? We can't even produce enough crude oil to service the Dangote Refinery, even if we have to get Dangote Refinery to purchase the crude oil from Nigerian government at a market price. But this one, you're having to go overseas to buy the crude oil at the market price, at the global market price, and then you have to build in the freighting cost, the shipping cost, the logistic cost on that crude oil that you purchased far away in the United States. Just imagine the added cost instead of actually purchasing it from Nigeria, where it will actually be shipped into your refinery. So what economic sense are these people talking about? It just doesn't even make sense. Please, if somebody can explain it to me, it is crazy.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I listened to the last two speakers. First of all, I'm not a government official. In fact, I am a writer, journalist, analyst, and trader. But the reality is that if you look at, you've been following me for a while, I say I'm very straightforward in my own, and I try to be data biased rather than put my own emotional bias. I was very critical of the CBN, right? The process I think the CBN. I've been critical about social issues, about all of them. But you see, the issue was is that we cannot cloud our problems with short-term solutions and effectiveness of those solutions. So, for example, we knew that the CBN was trying to solve liquidity problems, and they did different methods, despite the fact that oil prices were elevated and output was supported. And just like Carla said, the naira is the dollar. So, at some point, it seems almost impossible that except the naira reach, except oil prices
certain price because Nigeria's operational cost of producing oil is one of the most expensive in the world, about $48.7 per barrel. And when you look at today's price, when you compare it with what Saudi Arabia is margin, and look at the kind of oil arrangement, Nigeria barely makes 40% of total output. But the question here is that, you see, when the system brings a short-term solution, the role of the media or role of that is to say out as before. I'm not support that this is going to be enough. In the short term, we will restore confidence in Naira. If it does not restore confidence in Naira, we will not see Naira at this level. Is this where we should be? Definitely no. Are we going somewhere? Definitely yes. And that's why my argument has always been seen. That when I speak to different circles, that we have problems, but we have people that solve these things, and we are getting somewhere. We have political issues. I don't talk about the political part. I'm talking about the financial part, what I can as always highlighted. And it's very important for us to know that, see, the CBN on the monetary side has restored stability in certain ways as outlined in the past few weeks. Is this sustainable? Time will tell. I'm not Goldman Sachs or economic intelligence unit that will make prediction. I only follow what data is saying. And what data is saying right now is we are seeing influx of dollar into the system based on the allowances of our money market and the accessibility of the index bank individual accounts. Thank you.
Yeah, Olumide, great point. Just to make the point, Olumide is not a government guy, well-respected guy. I've known him for ages. So he's a private sector guy. If you notice where he's coming from, he's talking the trading side. He's giving you really private sector information. Honor to have him here. Just to make that point clear. Malam, I've got you here. Malam Bachise, please go ahead, sir. Malam, thanks for waiting so long. You've got the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure, Mr. Kalu. Please confirm you can hear me.
I can very well. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, okay. So actually, I didn't want to speak. I just wanted to listen and learn, and see what to request. When was it Akin was talking about power, I was like, what am I hearing here, for God's sake? But I'm happy. I'm not going to give that. But I'm happy that people have already addressed that adequately. The reality is that one of the biggest problems we have in this country, in fact, I can almost say that the reason why we have not really made any significant progress when it comes to economic development is because we lack power. If you are close to anybody in the manufacturing industry, they will tell you that diesel is one of their biggest problems. Businesses, a lot of projects are not economic today just because of energy cost. Even there's a security dimension. All these artisans, all these small people who do piping and, like you said, bread and all these people are now into crime. Some of them are now doing what they are doing because there was no power. Back in the days, they used to be able to connect via one this and then they're able to run their this. But now they are going to buy fuel for 600 naira per liter. And you think, please, let's not. And then, why are we comparing ourselves with Ghana? Ghana is, yes, I respect my Ghanaian people, but you know that Nigeria is much more well endowed in terms of almost everything compared to Ghana. You shouldn't just be using Ghana as a case study. So, please, I hope nobody believes what I said about power. I'm just worried that somebody is going to believe that and they're going to carry that. And then
maybe we didn't hear Aki. Let's maybe.
So I'm glad people have addressed that.
Yeah, thanks, Malam.
I wanted to talk about the dollar thing again as well. I think, in my opinion, what I can say is that I don't think anybody should bet against the Naira. Sorry?
Go ahead.
I can't can hear you now.
Madam, you got the floor. You are saying we shouldn't bet against the naira. I don't think we are saying we should bet for or against naira. We're not competing. The dollar and the naira are not competing. They are two different currencies. I think the problem is this. We are trying to answer a question. Should you hold dollar? Should you hold naira? And we've said that the naira value is derived from imports of dollar. Those imports are from sales, from loans, from remittances. So instead of asking what's the value, or should I buy or should I sell, look at the sources of supply of the dollar. If the dollar supply goes up, naira will gain value. It's just that simple. So if oil output is falling, naira cannot gain value in the long term. You can borrow dollars and sell to BDCs and make short-term returns. That's fine. But long term, you have a problem on your hand. I think that's just the reasoning. You can't compare dollar and naira. They are two different. Dollar is the reserve currency. Naira is just the West African, or should we say the Nigerian currency. So that point should be well made. Emmy, you want to say something? Emmy for Love One. I know if you want to say something, so you've got the floor. Emmy, go ahead. Emmy speaking once, speaking twice. Chuka_truth. Chuka_truth. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. You got the floor.
All right, great. Yeah, thank you. A lot to unpack.
Lots to unpack.
I think Kyla, as usual, is really saying the right things. We have to. What I want to add is that, and you probably said it before I got on. I think that we need to start focusing on the CBN. Central banks controls money supply in the economy, and they control interest rate, which is the rate that banks and other institutions within the country are funded. That's it. If we want to reduce, if we want to increase the value of the naira, which I personally think is kind of a bad idea, especially if we're trying to be an exporting nation, we have to focus on the economy. So focusing on policies within each state, how they implementing policies to increase production. Power is a state thing now, right? So people who want to go into the power business should go to states that have the highest, have a large potential for industrial output. So states like Ogun, Oyo, Abia, etc., right, are states that people should be thinking about. But I think the focus should be on us being more productive. And I think that we need to, if I'm a governor, I would singularly focus on power output. I wouldn't focus on anything else. I don't even build roads or anything. I would just focus on increasing our power output, because that's going to be directly tied to human capital development, all that stuff that so many people have said. And culture. We haven't talked about culture, right? Are we creating a culture in our various states that promotes hard work? Are we creating a culture in our various states that promotes entrepreneurship, ingenuity? A lot of times we don't look at the habits of the people in the land and use that as a metric for us to be able to produce more, right? Because you can increase power, but if the people are, quite frankly, lazy in a state, then your productive output isn't going to increase, right? So I think we need to think of ways to be more productive, and we need to start thinking long term. I think the guy Atkin, if I'm not mistaken, spoke, and he wasn't thinking long term. At some point, we have to think about 10, 12 years from now. What we do in this country is think about, right? We get political positions, people steal the money, because political positions are like winning the lottery, so people just go there, steal the money, just very short term thinking, constantly. And I think that's a lot of these things are why we're struggling as a nation. We don't promote entrepreneurship, we don't generally promote hard work. Maybe outside of a few states in Nigeria, most cultures in Nigeria are not hard-working cultures, and that's going to have a huge impact on industrial output.
I got you.
Sorry.
No, just want to round up real quick. We're gonna.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little longer. Yeah, and I just want us to kind of focus on, instead of just CBN, Cardoso, like, he's only going to be controlling money supply. What about our state governors? Power is a state thing now. It's not a federal government thing. People has nothing to do with power. Your governor in your state is really why now, currently, he's really the reason why you don't have the power in your state. The industrial output is low. So let's focus on policies that increase power output. Those policies are going to be within a state. So yeah, I'll wrap up with that.
All right, guys. So, guys, we're on the closing stretch here. We're taking it down to the top of the hour, then we'll shut down. We're talking the Naira. We're talking investing across borders. We're talking strength of the Naira. How can we get it up long term? Lots of great speakers, lots of great suggestions there. We heard about the P2P market being down. We've talked about the CBN and NNPC's role. The issue, like this last caller said, focus more on the NNPC's role, getting the Naira strength up and all that. So lots of good comments there. Home stretch going down. Let's go to Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis, what's up? Mr. Lewis Tabai, you've got the floor, sir. Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So very quickly, I just want to make, before I start the question I also asked, the point of the oil theft. A couple of weeks ago, I watched an interview of a Navy, the senior Army boss. When they asked him about oil theft, what he said was quite shocking. He said that there are abandoned oil wells. There is abandoned oil wells that some IOCs have left. That those are the ones that the oil thieves go to get the oil from. So it was a bit shocking. I'm like, if there are abandoned oil wells, why can the government not give concession? But anyway, that's just
no. But you know,
the main question I want to ask I just want to just say that. But the main question I want to ask concerning this Naira issue is I want to ask the financial experts and economists here. There's something I always grapple with, and I need answers. And that question is this: why do we have to buy dollars in cash and pay into an account before we can send money out of the country, before you can make an international payment? My thinking is that at times is the dollars in cash or FX in cash that is scarce, not the ability for us to trade. And but because I'm not a professional, I'm an IT guy. But people keep on, but nobody has been able to give me a satisfactory answer, because no other country in the world, well, maybe a few, but no other reasonable country in the world does that. Whereby, what I think the final fix to this issue is that a Nigerian should be able to walk into his bank, just the way the CBN said some weeks ago that, okay, any foreign remittance, you collect your money in Naira. Very simply, why can't we simply just go to my bank? I say, my bank, I have 500,000 Naira. Okay, I want to pay for something in, let me say, in Russia. Please, can you convert my 500,000 Naira to Russian money at official exchange rates? Then maybe charge me a fee and transfer the money. And the same thing can also apply to the exchanges like Western Union, and even with our cards. Even if it's better for them to even charge us a fee, a percentage, processing fee or something. That solves the whole issue of going to buy cash from outside. And another thing about this foreign exchange is that I realized that many Nigerians, including myself, I did not know, but because of this economic issue, people started doing a lot of reading. I realized that even today, the Naira has more value than Japanese yen. So this mirage that people say, Naira value. We know that we know that Japan is a production country. Everybody knows Japan. But our Naira, today, if you Google 1 Naira to Japanese yen, you will see that our Naira currently has slightly more value than Japan, even I think Korea also. So the value of the Naira, I think we get very fixated on it. And if things like minimum wage can be fixed, cost of production, our main problem is cost of production. When I hear about you produce oil or it's more expensive in Nigeria and all that, I think our main issue is cost of production, supply chain, and policies. All these multiple taxation. Those are the things. The same reason why it's more easier to export something from Ghana than to export from Nigeria. So these are the difficult things. So concerning exchange rate, my main question for the experts is, why on earth is Nigeria the only country in the world where you have to go and buy dollars in cash to pay into an account to do a transaction, when you can simply go to your bank and say, please convert so naira to whatever currency, SEPA, every other currency. I've missed a couple of countries.
Your question is, Lewis, let's answer the question. It's because the bank rate is lower than the rate outside. So if you take cash, you can buy at a better rate outside the bank. It's just recently the Stevens allowed the banks to sell without caps. In the past, the rate you get at the bank is lower, so it's better for you to take your cash out of the bank and buy. That's what's going on. So it's just now that we said other countries don't fix their currency. We had a peg. If you go to the US, you want to buy currency, you get the exchange rate you buy from your bank. That's why they buy from the bank, because you can't buy cheaper outside. You don't see quote unquote malam outside in the US or UK, because you can go to your bank and get the price without the peg. Nigeria pegged. So the bank is giving you the official, or used to give you the official rate, which was lower than the real rate. That's what's going on. So
I think the simple policy, I'll round up now. I think the simple policy was saying people can just. My issue is I was in the right of money. I just got the cash behind the dollars. I believe that is this issue of buying cash outside that is.
No, we've answered the question. That's why they were doing it. Do you have something? Do you agree with? That's why they were doing it. So now that has gone away. If you go to GT Bank or any bank, for instance, they give you their quote. If you don't like it, you go to another bank. The quote is now sort of the same. The parallel rate and the rate are now equalized more or less. So you're fine. That's why. Does that make sense?
Kind of, I'm still
okay, no worries. All right, no worries. No, Lewis, you've had a long time to speak. Let's rotate the room, Lewis. Let's get PR Lord, please. Let's get PR Lord.
Okay, Mr. Kalu, thank you very much.
Yeah, hi, please go ahead.
Okay, I've listened.
Guys, let's be quick. We're going to round down and then we'll take it a day. We've kept guys here for 2 hours, 3 hours, so I want to just make sure we round up and then we'll just take it down to the wire.
Okay,
go ahead, sir.
I've listened through, I've learned a whole lot, and I must really commend you for the work you've been doing, in terms of ensuring that we get educated about most of these things. But then my worry in all of this is how I don't know. Maybe this is not going to be something that will be left for you only. But I'm always big on we trying to make this not just be a talk show. So what that would mean for me is that we should be able to find a way of cascading this down to the local man on the streets, because at the end of the day we're not just going to be talking about all of this and then nothing is really done about it to maybe affect the kind of change that we want as a people for our country. So what efforts are we really making so that at the end of the day we don't just talk about these things and then most of us we sound rather very knowledgeable about these things, but then most of the people in government who we think should know this better and then come up with those policies that would get most of these things done are not necessarily implementing most of these things. So how do we effect those kind of changes? How do we get to educate those people on the street and let them know that this is what it is supposed to be and that this is what we are supposed to do for us to get it right? Because
so you've asked a question. You've asked a question. Yeah. So ask the question.
So we can't just be talking about this and making this just to be like some kind of talk show or something. So
but it PR
realistically to get those changes that we demand for. So that's just, I don't know, maybe just like a question or maybe just to draw our attention to the points I'm trying to make right now. So thank you, Mr. Kalu.
Yeah, but it is a talk show. If you called Olumide, and I'm telling you for a fact, if you call Olumide and you ask him this question off this space, you might be willing to pay a consideration if you find him. This guy writes for lots of magazines internationally. He's here just simply because he's a friend. I'm not paying him, he's here because he's a friend. And you ask him a question and he basically is answering your questions. Lots of other folks here, there are lots of folks here that are coding their names. These are guys that work in investment banks in Nigeria or do a lot of cash in Nigeria, have a lot of knowledge. They just come and speak and go away. They don't say who they are. You see, notice I don't ask people who you are on my spaces. It's actually a talk show where you can come and hear the real stuff that is going on with money, capital, money, personal finance, and the economy. You hear stuff here that you will not get anywhere, and it's for free. So my job is what I'm doing right now. I brought that knowledge from the boardroom. This is what we're doing here is what we talk about in our tiny community. We know what is happening. We know who's going to make money next week. We go and we do it, and you don't have a clue. I brought it down so that more people can just listen. It's not even recorded. You can listen, hear, pick one or two things and run with it. That's what we're doing. So I've done my own. No one says you can grab this now and drill it down further to your own community and say, oh, I'm on this spaces. This is what they said. It's recorded. You can listen to it. We've been doing this for 3 years. 3 years. This stuff we're doing here. Same thing with the podcast. Same thing with the tweets we do online. Why? Because a large gap of knowledge. So the point I'm making is this: we've done our own. It's for you to then run with it. Because this space you're seeing, I don't think you can find any space consistently in Nigeria talking about the economy, finance, personal finance consistently in Nigeria on this same topic. We don't talk sports, we don't talk politics, we're just talking money. So we're doing this enough. So to say it's not becoming a talk show, it is a talk show. Literally, it's spaces on Twitter. That's what we're trying to do, to get that information out there so you can take have actionable intelligence to then do your Mondays and your Tuesdays. So that's what it is, PR Lord. Yeah? But thanks for the comments, I appreciate it. Lukman Balogo, how you doing, sir? I got Lukman, go for it, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I just want to make it real quick. First things first is, one of the reasons why the Naira would have a challenge is because every budget in Nigeria you can think of, and every expenditure that the government does is rated in the US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, it would be hard. So for me, it feels like when they talk about the Naira, it's like a mirage. They make us think they're trying to make the Naira have value. But in the real sense of it, every single thing, every expenditure you can think of is rated to the dollar. Two is, I feel like if we could make every other region and state become very productive, it would give more value to the currency. Because if you look at the whole of, Nigeria as a whole, you only be pointing at Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Onitsha. And every state in Nigeria has something they can produce. Thank God it's been exposed that their mineral resources existing. I knew there was, I think in 2005, during 2005, during Obasanjo's regime, they did like an audit in terms of mineral resources. Unfortunately, nobody brought that into the open, and then the governors made it their personal thing and started dealing in it. So for me, I think one of the best ways you can go, if you really want to get value to the Naira, is to go back to making sure that every state becomes independent on their own. And when I mean independent, I mean true independence. Because I can tell you, every state in Nigeria can source for itself and survive. Once that is done, will be good. Secondly is this. Someone made mention about the fact that you couldn't go into the bank to, send money to a different country by currency and all of those things. Yes, it was an intentional thing. It was intentional because particular persons from a clan that I belong to felt that they owned the country and they were creating a black market. So trying to create like a strategy of scarcity. Now, as far as now is concerned, I think the only thing is being subsidized, aside education, the petroleum is being subsidized. The dollar was very low because the dollar was subsidized. Now, they made mention about saying they wanted to float it, but the real truth is they just chose to not subsidize the US dollar to make it very expensive. Sadly, that was the hope for many people, because if you needed to go and do your proof of funds and all those things, you didn't need to worry about the black market rates. The embassies were going to rate you according to the rate from the central bank. So I also feel like the idea that they hold the value of the currency is also a very big problem. And it's intentional. Nigeria is where it is because Nigeria has been sabotaged. But that is because, and then with the whole sabotage thing started with the fact that they tried to kill the educational system. There's a lot of productivity that can come in place. I just wish we can have a genuine private industry, because our private sector is I would regard it as one of the worst private sectors, because they are leeches. They don't want to add value to the system, but they want to reap every single value they can get. And when you have people like that in the private sector running a country, you have issues, loads and loads of issues. So we need genuine private sectors and leaders. And for me, I think it will be private sector leaders that come from, grassroots. Because when you go back to the so-called private sectors individuals, you still find that there's these elites that are there. Like, for example, there used to be a company called Doe Project that was owned by Olola and Water. And they were fully funded by Access Bank. These people had no collaterals, no value, no nothing. They were just paying suppliers, buying and selling. That's what they were doing. From buying and selling, they moved to supply to the Lagos State government supply, medical supply. From there, they started a construction company worth over $10 billion. These people have no idea about construction. They are just medical doctors. So you talk about the fact that the so-called elite have still not let go of this country for us to actually genuinely have growth. Today, that company has crashed because there was a change in government. Buhari came in. It wasn't favorable anymore. The bank closed properties. If you come down from the Third Mainland Bridge, the property is just by the last office by Iluberry. So you think about it, there's a whole lot of issues. And we will come in here and begin to bring in solutions, proper solutions. But the question is this: are we genuinely ready to make things work? Because I can tell you, one of the biggest problems we have as a country is a level of hypocrisy. You see, everyone wants to be good. Think about this: they rather not have a good road and buy SUVs. That also has a lot to do with our person. They rather not. It's just ridiculous. I would say this.
Let's round up.
Any state would be existing and it will look like they are powerful. It's because there's a population in that place that functions. If you look at Lagos today, when the southeastern people move, the whole economy is dead. So we have what it takes to go and make another state economically viable and have our own control and value. And that way, no one will have no choice than to bow to what we want to make happen. And then we can have value. In terms of talking about the naira to the dollar, I would not tell you a lie. I think because the country has been operating in terms of the US dollar as its own currency, but we painted it to look like it was the naira, really. But we're really doing everything, expenditures and everything in the US dollar. That's what our value was. It would take a while to command the strength of the naira back. But what we can do is when we share that economical power that is being positioned in particular states and we have it go round, that way over time we can recover, and then when we are truly ready to now be honest with ourselves, then we can now say we want to put the value of the naira back. It's funny how the Ghanaians will think that the Ghanaian city has more value than the naira.
the Ghanaians
was denominate the currency, and they think it has more value. And I hear them speak, and I'm always like, really? You think the city has more value than the naira? It doesn't. You just have left-hand numbers, that's all. So we have what it takes. The ideas are there. We don't have grants. We don't have government grants funding ideas. We don't have grants that don't need to be fundable. I looked at the grants and I was so upset.
Look, man, we got to round up. Look, man. Sorry about that.
Pardon?
We got to round up if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. You're talking about giving grants. Abure is talking about, not Abure, this guy, so the media spokesman, he's talking about the fact that they are giving 50,000 naira grants. For what? What does 50,000 naira want to do? And then we need to move our population to understand this. By yourself, you can move faster. Together, we can move further. The idea that everybody wants to own a company is one of the most ridiculous things that exists.
All right.
If we can think of merging and
All right.
mergers, we will be stronger.
All right, look,
When
man.
the British people came to steal us, they understood that we were a team. They decided to divide us so they can break between us. We need to come back to unite as one and understand that it's only as a team that we can bring in the value we truly want.
Gotcha. All right, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me get the last two speakers. So we've got Just Rabiu, and we've got the Just Rabiu. You've got the floor. Thank you so much for waiting. I appreciate that. Just Rabiu, go ahead. Then I've got X Rotimi. Yeah, Rabiu, you've got the floor. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be as brief and terse as I can. So first, I want to say that the argument that Nigeria is endowed should stop. It should end this one because every country in the world is endowed. Argentina is endowed, but look at the mess they found themselves in. So we should just forget that argument a bit serious. We should be coherent as we can be, academic if we need to be in our argument. So the current situation Nigeria finds itself is not the problem, or it was not caused by the common man. You spoke earlier about the market woman holding $10, $5, whatever, so that when she needs something she can trade it back and buy. Those are not the real people making impact. There are people hoarding millions of dollars in cash in their homes, and that's where the real problem is. But at the end of the day, it's the common man that gets told, oh, give up your $1, don't buy this, don't do this. And it's like everybody has to support the government. People have lost their businesses, people have lost their means of livelihood. People have been thrown into abject poverty. Things you used to be able to afford, you no longer can afford, and then you get told to just jump on the board, jump on the bandwagon and hail somebody or eulogize somebody or applaud somebody. And if you don't do it, you're a bad person or something. I think we all love Nigeria, but the reality is the reality. Briefly, I would like to share a personal experience. So, like 2 weeks ago, I changed the pounds. The pounds was doing well then against the naira, so I changed it to like 2,000 into naira. Then I bought Chinese renminbi, which is the yuan, at 270 naira each. So I exchanged 300 pounds and I got around 570 something thousand. I don't remember exactly. And I had to then now convert the naira into Chinese yuan, which is renminbi, and I got 2,100 renminbi. So I gave it to somebody. I actually hired somebody to do a job for me. Now, after like 2 weeks, he said he can't do it, and then I asked for my money back. He is Bangladeshi, so he doesn't spend naira. I have to give him Chinese yuan because he has a Chinese WeChat account, which is like the version of WhatsApp. I gave him the money towards that, and I said, okay, you know what? Give me back my money. I don't need Chinese yuan. I can't spend Chinese yuan. How does he give me back? He said, okay, he sent me back the money. Now I have to go and change it back to naira or to pounds or to dollars or something, and there's no way I can do that. When I went back, the value of the yuan is still the same. But now, when I asked the same person, I bought naira for 270 from Fred today, it's 150. I cannot afford to lose that. I'm going to get like 200,000 naira. If for the same money 2 weeks ago, that was 570 something thousand. Now, no matter how much I love Nigeria or I love the country or the situation, the fact on the ground remains that it's like you keep saying, like, the economics is the economics. You cannot pretend that the reality is not.
Yeah, and Rabi,
yes.
That's the point I'm making again with the lady, that lady that is buying dollars. What I'm saying, that lady is not an economic person. That lady has no idea of exchange rates. What she just knows is this: if she takes her 1,000 naira and she buys $1, she can use that same dollar in a month's time and buy supplies locally in Nigeria. That's what she knows. She doesn't know NNPC, doesn't know CBN. She just knows that with the money in $1, it doesn't fail. That's what I'm saying. And there are many people like her in one way or the other that want to save naira. You know, in the marketplace in Nigeria, people go around taking money from people to save. They call it a job. They go around and take money daily from these people, and they save this money every day. So these women, I'm telling you, collect this money, and if they collect that money, they go and buy dollar, and they hold that dollar just to trade it back to buy the same goods. But they can use that dollar and buy the same goods that when they have naira. That's what's going on. So you have a new class of people that don't have any business holding dollar, that are now demanding dollar. So dollar demand has gone up. So I was making the point with that example that when there is stability in prices, the demand for dollar will also fall. If you have food inflation at 37% and dollar is going up and down and food is still 37%, why will dollar not go up? People are asking on Twitter, should I buy? Food today is 37% inflation. Dollar went down last week. Did the price of food go down last week? Yes or no? Did the price of food go down? No, it didn't go down. So then what are we talking about now? So what is the argument about? So I will say that if dollar goes to 10 naira to $1, will the price of bread reduce? If it does not reduce, then is it a real or artificial? So people are arguing, you're looking for a villain to pinch your darts on. I'm giving you the data. I didn't make the data up. This is the pure data I'm giving you. You get 89% of your exports from crude oil. Have you increased crude oil exports? No. Where is the dollars again today? You are borrowing dollars at 21% to sell, to make your naira rise in value. Okay, you borrowed today. Will you borrow tomorrow? That's the question. If you're not going to borrow tomorrow, then what are you arguing about? If we've agreed that the money is for the dollar, the naira is rising because we are borrowing dollars, then what are we arguing about? If you want to continue, keep borrowing. If you want to hold the dollars, hold the dollars. But don't argue your data with me. I'm just talking data and personal finance. If you want to do whatever you want to do with dollars, go and do with your dollars. But for me, if I have dollar, I would diversify my own portfolio because the fundamentals have not changed. If tomorrow I hear that NNPC has supplied the whatever in India, 2 million barrels, I will be the first person to sell my dollars because the fundamentals have changed. This is not protectionism, this is pure math. It's mathematics. So let's move on to last speaker before I go a little bit to give you his closing remarks. Last speaker, Rotimi, how are you, sir? Thanks for also holding on there. A little bit, please get up. Rotimi, you still there? Rotimi going once, Rotimi going twice. Thanks for hanging out here again. Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
It's been a pleasure to be on your feet. And I keep learning every day. Different people's perception, and that's really what the market is all about. Because there's nothing like absolute, and there's no alpha knowledge in that space, and that's why even those that we think are gurus, to get humbled in the market, many of them about their greedy is there. So my question about this is, you see, yes, I listen to your point. Very similar to the fact that the federal government is doing. But there are two reasons why inflation are very motivated. First, we understand that Nigeria we bought most of the new men in production of boats in bulk, and definitely some of them have not sold at that point. And it's rapid. So we've not seen it translating. Though I listened to this market one in the and I said that it's likely that interest rate inflation will peak in the second quarter. How big that may be? What we have now is that at least it seems our volumes are bottom. It's not like how far it was before. Now, we see them, like I've said, in different write-ups that we should not, it's not equal because we forgot what happened in December. When is that after below 1,000? And what as high as 1,100. So it tells you that all the structural problems we are talking about is still very valid. But at the same time, what looks different right now is that the Apex Bank is using financial engineering to and also play systemic psychology movement to the market. Because of, look at now, the interest now is going up. Banks are getting people to raise $2 trillion. Whether they get it from abroad or they use capital market, that was more profitability. Money supply that everybody is saying for is revaluation of certain assets that are domiciled in there. So definitely that costs some additional. It wasn't really like you're just putting money. So we need to also understand that. So my point in that is that we can all be economical about that analysis, but the story of this space is that we should maximize information to better our ability. And that is why I say that we that as yes, let's say not just the minister, but throughout the world. So my question is, if you know that you can have the dollar can earn, why not? But if you know that you don't have that capacity, try and grow that capacity. They still have markets that can make. I started with that's why I was going to. So you can always grow from somewhere. Don't look down on the beginning. That's where I get all of people. It's not just that. And as you see, I'm still proud of it. I still do my country. That's why the fact that I get people like already quit the television. I still feel that something good can still come out from the desert. So my last point is that if you don't have an investment account in Nigeria, I think the idea about that, whether you're in US, whether you're in United States, you're in serious trouble because life is changing and necessity is already becoming high. So try and speak to people that spend their life. And we have different list of investment banks on the NGS. You can look at the list, see if you can choose anyone. And if you don't, you can look at Carol Treasure. I've done so many different podcasts. And the book, I think when I was in the country, I attended the book launch. A lot of people attended the book launch, and it shows to you that people really want to know. The book is everybody that is it's something that I have, and it's something that is unique because it speaks from the American perspective of fire and also localize Nigeria context. So it's something that makes money out of because the problem is that many of us, we just look at it and we have short memory, we don't want to do our research. Thank you, Carl, and have a nice day.
All right, Olumide, thank you so much for that. Hey guys, we've come to the end. We've spent nearly 3 hours talking money, capital markets, and of course the economy. So we all every good thing has to end. We're here every weekend, so you can catch us next weekend. And we always try to have this open forum where guys can talk, ventilate issues, and hopefully we pick 1 or 2 things out of there. What's happening in Nigeria right now is this bank recapitalization. Will it cause markets to fall? Will it bring in FDI? Will it even cause the dollar to rise or fall? We're going to start to look at that critically. I think it's a buy. I think that sector is a buy. Which particular stocks to buy? Of course, we'll come in here and talk about it. I say hold the dollars close, but also hold your Nigerian equities close. Like I've said, if the market is down, the only place it can go next is up. So, don't do too much dollar. Remember, Nigeria is also a very, very large market and it can also go up as well. So, guys, have a great week coming forward and I hope to see you guys here next week. You guys enjoy. Take care of yourselves and bye.